Last time on Fisher's Initiative Short Stories. The year is 1411. Our heroes, Melvin the Elf, who is handsome and perfect in every way, Ume, the bloodthirsty pixie, and Donovic, the mostly confused human, strolled into the town of Cristofori on a bright summer's day. The vegetation seemed to be dying. A cool breeze ran through the leaves of the barren orchards and desolate crops which lined the road. A river ran parallel to the path and provided crisp, refreshing water. Busy elves, halflings, and humans inhabited this village and wandered to and fro. The trio paid them little mind and looked at the bounty board.
I do not trust written word.
Donovic scratched his chin thoughtfully.
It is much too easy for someone to be writing. Easy jobs are untrustworthy and make men weak.
He took a page down off the board. There was a drawing of a gnome wearing a top hat with a potted cactus sticking out the top of it.
I think you're holding it upside down.
Exasperated with her friend, Ume took the paper and turned it right side up.
The cactus kid, huh? Let's go get him.
She passed the bounty to Melvin and rubbed the handles of her daggers.
Soon, my sweeties. Soon.
Melvin read the bounty with his perfect eyes.
Bananas!
Melvin exclaimed, his glorious hair blowing freely in the wind as people gawked in sheer awe of his majesty.
Why, these ne'er-do-wells are right up the road!
He rolled up the sheet and pointed it down the street to a lone house at the end of a sketchy cul-de-sac.
Why he gets to be Mary Sue character?
Donovic pointed at the heroic elf.
Is obvious allegory of struggle between proletariat and bourgeoisie.
Ume drew her blades as she slowly and menacingly flew towards the house, much like the creeping death of time or trying to survive in 2020.
Quit fucking around, guys. My babies need to get stabbing.
Ume charged ahead and smashed the front door down. A gnome with the green top hat with the potted cactus sticking out the top stood there, surrounded by other gnomes.
Man, what the fuck, see? Why do people keep kicking down my doors, see? You're under arrest, you short scum.
Melvin's perfect voice rang out in an accusatory tone, followed by an oomph after being elbowed in the gut by Ume, who is also short.
Ah, man. Can't a guy rob old people and children in peace, see? Get 'em, boys!
The gnomes attacked, and fierce battle ensued. Donovic swung his mighty brick around, bashing the gnomish skulls while Ume stabbed him in the face. Melvin, with his perfect teeth, smiled brightly, blinding the hapless gnome. Using this opportunity, he cast an ice spell on the cactus kid.
Yeah! See?
The gnome's knees froze as he fell to the floor in defeat.
Don't hurt me, see? I'll come quietly, see?
Melvin struggled to look heroic as he dragged the bloody gnome to the local guardhouse. The gnome screamed in agony and kicked his legs, which were now defrosting tiny nubs. Blood pooled beneath him like a pile of amassing debt, or an overflowing adult diaper, or trying to survive in 2020.
Here's your criminal. Now, about that bounty.
He stuck a perfect hand out. Mortified, the clerk dropped 3,000 gold into his hand.
Thanks? Oh, God, please leave.
He managed to utter, trying not to vomit.
Good. Now let us purchase steeds for our noble adventure.
The group headed to the stables and bought 3 giant pill bugs. Needing saddles, they entered the town tailor shop. There they found a peculiar young half-elf who seemed to glow softly, much like they do. Donovic sauntered up to the counter.
Why hello, my little kotik.
He said, waggling his eyebrows and belching. She squinted and wrinkled her nose in disgust.
No.
Well,
He said, leaving the store.
I tried.
With a shrug, he exited and sought out the nearest magic shop.
We'll need saddles for 3 pillbugs, miss.
Melvin spoke up, wondering why she was glowing.
Sure, they'll be done tomorrow.
Excellent.
The duo exited the store to find Donovic speaking with the magic shop owner.
I give you many thanks for these boots. Disguise is good for deceptive tasks.
I'm glad to do business with you, sir. Have a good day.
The gnome waved as he walked back into his shop.
Now to disguise as drunk man to blend in with general population.
Putting the boots on and stumbling into the local tavern, Sleazy Susan's Bar and Grill, he began asking about the happenings around town. Melvin and Ume followed suit, during which time Ume stole Donovic's boots of disguise, as a typical thief does. While talking to some gnome strippers, they learned that domestic crops refuse to provide almost any yields at all, and that the village elders at Parfalax may know more. One of the strippers handed Melvin a brick of cocaine.
Do me a favor, hun. If you deliver that to him, for me, he'll probably tell you all you need to know. Aha! Then we've found our next task.
The stripper and one of her coworkers went on break and briefly conversed while our heroes slept at the tavern and woke bright and early the next day.
So anyway, like I was saying, I had this John the other night.
Like, how many are we talking here? Because, like, normally you go really hard, especially on weekdays. I've told you that you need to slow down because you're gonna wear yourself out.
No, it's fine. It was just a Wednesday, so I had like 7.
So what exactly did he make you do? Was it the handstand thing again? I remember the handstand thing. A lot of those guys seem to like the handstand thing.
I can do a handstand and my boobs will reach my face. It's fucking phenomenal.
It's a beautiful thing. I've seen it. It's wonderful.
He didn't ask for the handstand thing. He asked me to do a cartwheel.
He asked you to do a cut. How did that work with the whole, the floppiness?
It hit me in the face, it hit him in the face, it hit him in the foot, and hit me in the gut.
Hey, that's a beautiful thing, though. Did he at least, pay you extra?
He paid extra and he finished early.
That's a wonderful thing.
It was a
oh my
wonderful
God,
thing.
That's so great.
Melvin awoke and stretched as he yawned.
Time to collect our saddles!
Melvin marched to the tailor shop as Ume and Donovic followed. They entered the shop just as the half-elf was unlocking the door.
Good day, miss. May I inquire as to the status of our saddles?
Oh, good morning. Yes, they are finished.
She unlocked the door and led them inside. She pointed to 3 newly made saddles sitting on the counter.
They should hold up pretty well.
Ah, you have my deepest gratitude, miss.
He executed a perfect bow with the humility of a saint.
If I may ask, why do you glow?
Her expression grew uneasy.
I don't know what you mean.
Melvin gestured towards his comrades.
We all glow, much like you do. Do you not see?
She shook her head.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
She began sweeping the floor.
Thank you for your patronage.
She muttered without looking up. The group exchanged puzzled glances and took their saddles. They jumped onto their giant pillbugs and rode for Parfalax. They arrived around noon after 2 days of uneventful travel. The smell of the grand waterfall just outside town greeted them and promised a relaxing stay. Our hero sought out the village elder and found him in his treehouse.
Ah, I can smell my cocaine. What news do you bring from Cristofori? Are the crops still faltering?
Sadly, they are still not producing. A gnome stripper informed us that you may have answers.
Melvin shifted uncomfortably in his chair. It just didn't support how awesome he is at everything, including simple tasks like sitting down.
Ah, yes.
The wizard began chopping rails on the nearby glass table.
The tree of wisdom or whatever may have some clues as to why the plants refuse to grow food. It is located in a cave in the mountains south of Aralavan.
He snorted a line.
Holy shit!
He shouted, sniffing and wiping his nose.
Fuck! I got it. It's fine. Thank you for your service, young ones. Please, travel safely.
He quickly ushered them out the door, incoherently rambling as the village elder's elder twin brother entered the room.
Hey!
Oh, here we go again.
What are you doing with my cocaine?
It's my coke.
You know that's not true. I bought it from the weird gnome strippers.
I bought it with my hard-earned fuck you.
You didn't buy shit and you know it. You were never the favorite. Give me my cocaine back. Now!
Oh, you think just 'cause you're the oldest, you can tell me what to do?
That's damn right. I'm the oldest. I'm 45 minutes older than you. You're gonna give me what I'm owed.
You know what you can get?
What's that?
Bent.
Oh!
Our heroes ventured forth on the path to the cave of the Tree of Wisdom or whatever. Along the way, Ume began checking underneath the bridges.
What are you doing?
Donovic asked, wondering if the pixie had finally lost his mind and was looking for it under these bridges.
I don't know. I like bridges.
After some searching as they neared the cave, Ume noticed a turtle. She jumped into the water and, after much effort, managed to capture it.
What are you going to do with that turtle?
Melvin asked with his perfect face.
What? I like it.
Ah, good idea. We can perhaps interrogate or eat. Maybe both. Turtles are sneaky and swim underwater and hide in shells to conceal themselves. Is perfect spy creature. Also good for soup.
Melvin shrugged his perfect shoulders and the trio continued their journey. They approached the cave further down the path around noon. The entrance was up against the side of a cliff in a small clearing. Oak trees surrounded the area and sunlight flooded the peaceful glade. Ume sniffed the air as she eyed the mouth of the cave.
I smell victims.
The pixie put her hands on the handles of her daggers.
Soon, my sweeties. Soon.
We must use caution.
Donovic reached into his holster and drew his brick. He tossed it into the cave and set off a few traps.
This is dangerous place. We should be careful.
Picking up the brick and tossing it further, he managed to clear a safe path through the cave. He came to a stop when they arrived upon a rickety rope bridge. Ume flew up to get a better look and spotted a fleet of giant toads. One of them looked distinctly mean.
Guys, they're toads.
We must concoct plan to...
For justice!
Melvin charged across the rope bridge with his perfect legs and struck the large, mean toad with an arcane projectile. The other toads fled in horror, but the mean toad lashed out and returned with its tongue. Donovic quickly crossed the bridge as Ume flew across. Drawing her dagger, she sliced the toad as she flew in circles around it. Donovic, with his trusty brick, smashed it in its face. The toad collapsed in a pile of defeat. The party searched the corpse and found a key in what appeared to be saddlebags. They examined the room and found a hallway beside a door with 3 locks.
3 locks.
Ume looked at the key in her hand.
Guys, there's gotta be 2 more keys.
They went down the left tunnel and heard raucous laughter. As they turned the corner, they found a few goblins, a hobgoblin and a goblin in a wizard's robe, casting various light puppet spells.
It's murdering time!
Ume reached into her pouch of infinite glitter and threw a handful at the goblins. Out of a magical poof flew the tiny form of Cthulhu. The evil demigoddess sheep ruthlessly slew the goblins one after the other as they begged for mercy. As it ripped off the arm of its final victim, it turned its gaze of infinite rage towards the party.
Pineapples! It's coming right for us!
Ume reached into her bag and offered the turtle to Cthulhu. Curious, the demigoddess flew over to her and accepted the turtle. Seemingly satisfied, the sheep disappeared.
Always have an emergency turtle. You never know when it might be useful.
She said, winking at the camera. Searching the bodies, they found 2 more keys as well as several useful magical items. They returned to the locked door and opened it. They followed the long, dark hallway inside, which led to a small grove. The sun shined through a small hole in the ceiling of the cave. There was a single tree surrounded by grass beside a small pond.
There might still be traps. Please, comrades, allow me to...
Without warning, Ume took his brick and tossed it at the tree. Being struck critically, it shuddered and yelled as it came to life.
Oh God, why would you do that?
Severely damaged by the unwarranted attack, the tree's trunk split open.
I can't hold him any longer. Take him to the village elder at Parfalax.
With its last breath, the tree of wisdom or whatever opened its trunk. Out rolled the small goblin. The creature shook awake and yelled.
Freedom at last.
The small goblin sprinted for the door, but was immediately set upon and killed by the party. They noticed he glowed much like they did. As the goblin lay motionless, his wounds sealed shut and his eyes popped open.
You can't stop me.
Once again, the goblin ran for the exit. Donovic smashed him in the back of the head with his brick, and the goblin slid to a halt, knocked unconscious.
This is how we do it, Jan Cardu.
They tied up the goblin and put him in Melvin's perfect backpack and set out for Parfalax. A few minutes into their journey, they heard muffled yelling from the pack.
I am King Cha-Cha. I demand you let me out at once.
It is funny, tiny person demand like he is deserving of rights.
Ume glared at Donovic. With their newly captured prisoner, the party journeyed for Parfalax. They had just learned his name was King Cha-Cha. He demanded to be set free, to which our heroes laughed at the idea. They arrived at Parfalax a few days later and handed him over to the village elder's elder twin brother.
We have communed with the Tree of Wisdom or whatever. Also, we captured this goblin who was trapped within the tree. It appears he cannot be killed.
The village elder looked up in curiosity from his glass table. He wiped cocaine from his nose and drew his dagger. Marching up to the hapless goblin, he stabbed him in the head. The life drained from the poor creature's eyes, only for him to instantly heal and begin screaming and shouting a moment later.
Ah, what the hell? I did nothing wrong.
Ah, this must be one of the legendary Immortables. It's the Orcish word for unkillables. This is fascinating.
The village elder stabbed him again. A moment later, the goblin sprang back to life and began sobbing.
Someone put me back in the tree.
The village elder sheathed his dagger and turned to our heroes.
Great job. Please, give me time to study this creature. In the meantime, there's a group of people called the Hula Doodagans in Saichua. They're making people's lives harder. Also, they have my coke. Please, go rescue these people and whatever, but more importantly, bring me my coke. I'd go myself, but it's full of halflings and little people and freak me out.
The village elder's twin brother walked in and noticed the crying goblin.
What the fuck is that on the floor?
I don't know. They brought it in and it was stabbed and now it's standing up. It's one of those immortables.
I've heard of the Immortables.
Have you?
Yes, they have fantastic pizza.
I want to go. But wait, I put you in a box.
I got out of the box.
How did you get out of the box? I locked the box.
You did not put a lock on the box. It was on the inside of the box.
Son of a bitch, I should have put a lock on the box. Next time I'm putting a lock on the box, you coke thief.
Why does everyone hate short people?
We'll get you your coke back, sir. Oh, and rescue those halflings.
And so, our heroes jumped back onto their giant pillbugs and set out for Saichoa, leaving King Cha-Cha to his cruel fate. They arrived in the small town a few days later and were immediately set upon by a pair of halfling hoodlums.
Hey, dudes, like, totally give us your money, bro.
Yeah, bro. Like, totally give us your money.
It's like, we're gonna cut you, bro.
He'll cut you, bro. I've seen him do it.
I've got a knife, bro.
He's got a knife. He's got a dagger.
It's the biggest dagger anyone's got here, bro. You got a dagger, bro?
Do you have a fucking dagger, bro? Bro, do you want to go with his dagger?
You want to throw down? You want to throw down, bro?
Dude, I'll
I'll
throw
throw
hands. I'll throw hands, bro.
He'll throw hands, I'll throw daggers. What's up, bro?
What you gonna do about that, bro? Apples! We haven't even begun our search, and our foes have already pounced upon us.
Die!
Ume threw glitter into the halfling's eyes, but it had no effect other than blinding him. Ume looked into the camera and, with a shrug, said,
Hey, I'm trying my best, okay?
with a lunge, she stabbed him in the face while Donovic and Melvin beat down the other.
Tell us where boss is or you die.
But you know what, dude? He's not even worth it. Bro.
Nah, bro. No.
Bro.
It's not worth it, bro.
Not worth it, bro.
Nah.
They're over there, man.
He pointed to a park down the road. The party made their way over to find a group of out-of-shape halflings sitting on weightlifting machines as they harassed passersby.
Surrender, you hoodlums!
A halfling with a mullet stepped forward.
Dudes, we're just like totally just like lifting, bruh.
It's over, little people. Now give us coke.
You know what? Them fight words, bruh.
A vicious battle began between our heroes and a gang of halflings. The gang leader jumped onto the shoulders of another halfling and, together, they took the fabled hula-doodigan fighting stance. Donovic punted several, while Ume sliced a few throats. Melvin fired off several perfect spells, and the battle was soon won. They searched the gang leader's corpse and found the brick of cocaine. Not wanting to stick around and draw too much attention, they promptly set out for Parphalax. After several days, nearing Parphalax, they spotted the black and gold zeppelins of the dwarven nation, Ikazar, dotting the sky. As they got closer, they found the silver and red wagon trains of the Orcish nation, Buenas Bebidas. Approaching the village elder's laboratory, the party found dwarven and Orcish soldiers arguing among themselves about which nation would be next to study the immortal goblin.
They're never gonna stop arguing. I'm gonna chill at the bar.
Ume moseyed into the tavern while Donovic and Melvin stood in line at the front lobby. Moments later, explosions shook the land and a commotion drew the duo outside. A lone dwarf, glowing much like our heroes do, clad in burlap rags, slid down a lightning bolt with a single hand. As he descended from the sky, he shot lightning out at the zeppelins and wagon trains, causing them to burst into fiery explosions.
I am Dervius of the Storms. I am the last of the wages of sin.
His voice boomed throughout the valley. Lightning strafed the land and all dove for cover as the mysterious dwarf floated gently to the ground. As his feet connected with the ground, he looked towards the laboratory and his eyes glowed particularly brighter.
I wish to create a world for immortals. A world where none shall ever die again.
Not one to miss an opportunity to point out someone's logical fallacies, Melvin's voice rang out.
But wouldn't that lead to overpopulation?
Thunder boomed and lightning crackled around the dwarf's hands. He shot out a lightning bolt at Melvin, which hit him directly in the heart. Melvin, the perfect elven wizard, fell to the floor, now a lifeless husk. But a moment later, he regained consciousness and found himself fully healed. He and Donovic looked at each other in confusion. With a smirk, Dervius drew a black card from his pocket and threw it to the duo.
I will build a world for us, one where we can roam free from subjugation or unjust scrutiny. You need only speak my name into the card, and you shall be in contact with me. It can only be used once.
As he spoke, King Cha-Cha's unconscious body floated into Dervius' arms. He raised a hand high over his head, and the heavens opened up, revealing a bright light. A Pegasus, pulling a golden chariot, soared through the sky. Dervius, with King Cha-Cha under his arm, boarded, and together they flew up into the skies.
Farewell, my fellow immortals.
As they disappeared from sight, the village elder's voice rang out in an accusatory and panicked tone as they pointed at Melvin.
He's an immortal!
He's an immortal!
You know what that means?
We can stab him in the head,
Several times.
and he can bring us coke from the bottom of the ocean.
Ocean Coke is the best Coke.
But I'm gonna keep it.
You
It's mine.
son of a bitch. I swear to God, if you keep the Coke.
You know what?
What? Oh!
That was the last of it.
You took my last bump. That was my favorite. That was my lucky bump.
That was my lucky bump now, you son of a bitch.
I'm gonna bump you somewhere where the sun doesn't shine. He's an immortal.
He's an immortal!
The village elders' voices echoed across the valley as the surviving soldiers of Dervius' assault sprinted towards Melvin and Donovic. Noping the hell out of there, they mounted their giant pillbugs and fled for Cristofori. The only other person they had ever seen glow was the half-elf tailor and leatherworker. If anyone had answers, there's a chance she would. They arrived a few uneventful days later and found her at her shop.
Hello, miss.
He said with a friendly bow. She returned his bow with a curtsy.
Hello, sirs. Are the saddles to your satisfaction?
We must have answers.
Donovic slammed his fists on the counter. The half-elf stood in shock.
What he means to say is we have questions. You see, we glow.
He gestured to himself, Donovic, and the shop owner.
And recently, we encountered a goblin who also glowed. He could not be killed.
Yes, we tried really hard.
Melvin paused and looked to Donovic.
Where is Ume, anyway?
In a sudden panic, they simultaneously shouted.
We forgot her!
Melvin took a moment to clear his throat. The half-elf could barely hold in her look of horror as they explained their case.
And then we encountered a dwarf who also glowed and called himself an immortal. And he called us...
He gestured towards himself and Donovic again.
Immortables. I can sense your hesitation to speak of it, but can you please help us?
The half-elf stared at them for a moment and then sighed.
My name is Setsuko. As far as I know, we're born this way. We can't be killed, and some of us have telekinetic abilities. We can see each other's glow, but normal people cannot.
Setsuko seemed lost in thought for a moment and then shuddered.
It's not a good idea to let people know you're an immortal. They do terrible things to you.
Melvin stroked his perfect chin and thought.
What do you think we should do? And what do you think we need?
I would try not to draw attention to myself.
She glanced around her modest shop.
I opened my store a few years ago after I escaped from Fort Metzo. The thing I needed most was gold back then. Starting up your business would probably be best. You'll be fine as long as you don't regularly do anything dangerous that will give you away as an immortal. There's also the Monk of Soul who might know what to do. If not, he might know someone who does.
The half-elf shrugged.
I guess you could always try to advocate for immortabilis rights, but I doubt anyone will listen.
Aha! Then I found my new quest!
Melvin marched out the door as Donovic followed. He commissioned the construction of a portable excavator, and the duo set out to mine precious gems and metals. As they did so, they were spotted by a Dwarven Federation warship. They tried to flee, but the ship caught up with them. Floating dinghies full of Dwarven soldiers descended upon our heroes, and they were taken prisoner aboard the airship. They were led into the captain's quarters. There, in the center of a room, a lone chair sat. It slowly spun to reveal Ume, their friend.
I'm back, bitches!
How is this possible?
Papayas! I thought we lost you!
Look, I don't know how I got here, but I made a deal with the devil lady and she made these boots stronger. See? Now they help me dance.
She stood up and did a little tap dance as the boots pulsed softly with magic.
Also, I tricked everyone into thinking I am the captain. Guys,
She leaned in as she whispered.
we own a fucking airship.
Melvin explained the entire situation to Ume, Dervius' attack at Parphalax, Setsuko's explanation of the Inmortables, the telekinetic abilities, their need for money, and the Monk of Soul. She hesitantly scratched her head.
Well, I guess we could also try to appeal to the goodness in some of the national leaders for our rights. But that may not get us far.
Did you say you made deal with Devil Lady?
So I've been talking to the airship crew, and they hate King Revernius. Maybe we could start a revolution and free the other guy.
Aha! Splendid idea! But first, we must consult with the Monk of Soul.
Okay, sounds good. Maybe we could...
Everybody quiet.
Donovic interrupted as he marched to Ume.
Show me this Devil Lady.
Oops, my bad.
Ume reached into her backpack and pulled out a tiny devil about the size of a mouse, clad in a chef's hat and apron. Ume sat her down upon the floor. In her most cheerful voice, the devil exclaimed,
I hate everything.
She's my best friend.
Ume turned to the devil.
Right?
Devil seemed to hesitate.
Yes.
They high-fived.
Ume, who is this?
I'm Zerxana, and she
She pointed to Ume.
made a deal with my boss in Leireri. You may have heard of him, Devil Lord in the second level of hell, Veziota.
Melvin stood in silence for a moment.
Well, if it's for the best, then it's all golden.
How is for best? She made deal with Devil Lady for tap dance.
Shh, it's for the best.
Now reunited, and with an additional friend and or enemy, our heroes flew to Seoul. They landed in a meadow near town and found a large temple. It was round with a dome ceiling. Inside, there was a shrine to every god. In the center of the room was an old man. He sat perfectly still as he meditated. Melvin approached and bowed.
Hello, sir. We are on a quest to figure out anything we can about the Immortables and Dervius of the Storms. Could you share your sage wisdom with us?
Ah, Dervius of the Storms. He hides on the peak of Mount Zamesius. His sorrows has led him astray, and now he wished to cover the world in volcanic ashes.
That's bad, right?
Yes, very bad.
But not for us? What are we to be scared of if we cannot die?
If your desire is to live among the ashes and nothing else, then not so bad.
Boysenberries, we must put a stop to him.
If it is guidance you seek for your predicament, there is a druid who guards the Tree of Life. Perhaps she can help you. A tree taller than any mountain overlooks the forest southeast of Busan. There, you will find the answers you seek.
Surprisingly, the trio bowed and departed before they could destroy anything or kill anyone. They boarded the airship and flew across the sea. The water sparkled and reflected a perfectly azure sky as they soared through the wild blue yonder. They set down outside of Busan after a week of travel and began their voyage up the path to the Tree of Life. It wound through the forest and circled mountains. From a few miles away, they could see a great majestic tree that stretched to the heavens, and behind it, the sun began to set. As they approached, they spotted a black cat resting on a headstone at the base of the colossal tree. The cat stood up and arched its back, meowing and hissing aggressively. Ume, in her quick thinking, casted a spell which enabled her to speak with animals.
No, go away. Get away from here.
Whoa, calm down. We're just trying to learn about the immortals.
The black cat seemed to relax. She shapeshifted into her natural form, an elf. She stood beside the headstone and eyed the party suspiciously.
Okay, what would you like to know?
What kind of creatures are we? Can we really not die?
And what do we do about Dervius? He is wanting to blow up Mount Zamesius to cover entire world in ash.
And why are the crops dying?
The elf seemed lost in thought for a moment, but then drew in a deep breath and sighed.
I am Genevieve of the Brownleaf clan. The Immortables are unnatural creatures, and as more of them are created, they will siphon life from the planet, causing the crops to die. The creation of your kind must be halted.
She gestured to the giant tree.
The Tree of Life is creating Immortables like a sort of cancer. It must be destroyed, and Dervius must be killed.
The elf procured a seed from her pouch and carefully placed it in Ume's hands.
First, you must slay him, and then you must plant the seed in the volcano.
But how do we kill him if he's immortal?
You will need to find Kazuko, the goddess of death. She's not one you can summon on a whim, but I know someone who knows how to summon her. His name is Augustus. He's a traveling merchant that roams the city of Harp.
Genevieve handed the party a few vials of liquid.
Throw those at the tree when you're ready.
She shapeshifted back into her cat form and sat atop the headstone. Our heroes hurled the vials at the tree. The glass shattered and the liquid was immediately ignited. The tree burned for several hours as the party watched. Melvin, still full of questions, turned to the cat but was stopped short. The black cat was now curled into a ball in that way cats do when they sleep. She laid upon the headstone, now a stone guardian who would forever watch over this resting place. A steady stream of teardrops fell from the cat's eyes, forming a pool at the base of the headstone, reflecting the moon and stars. Donovic and Melvin solemnly made their way down the path as Ume stayed behind. She lit up the face of the headstone, which read, "Here lies Fuchsia, my best friend." The pixie cast a permanent light spell which would forever illuminate the duo. As she trekked down the path, she patted her pocket which contained the seed. She quickly caught up with her friends.
We may not be able to defeat Dervius on our own.
And even if we do, we cannot hide forever.
We'll need to get a leader on our side.
What about imprisoned former king of Yankardu? Most dwarves hate Rovernius. He needs to be going.
If it involves violence, I am down.
Ume pulled Zerxana out of her backpack.
What do you think?
Murder!
It's settled then. We have our next task ahead of us.
Our heroes were mid-flight when Ume suddenly felt a tug at her sleeve.
I need more souls.
What do you mean?
You promised my boss 100 souls for the tap dancing spell, and you haven't given me a single one yet.
She held out a tiny hand.
Souls, gimme now.
Sweet, it's Murrin time.
See, that's the spirit.
Watermelons! We'll have to land and find some people to massacre.
Our heroes landed in Yosu and looked for a bounty board. Finding none, they wandered into the rude dude's crude mood and food. There, they found a strange man with horns, red skin, a tail, glowing yellow eyes, and a thin mustache and beard. Ume flew to the strange man.
We need to kill people.
Ah, then you may be interested in taking care of those smugglers for me. Excellent! We'll be murdering people while enforcing the law, thereby retaining our status as the good guys.
Yes, like being royalty or politician.
Good. Then just mosey on down the coast and get rid of them barge people. You can keep the contraband, I just need 'em gone.
Our heroes followed the coast on a quest to kill a bunch of people. A few hours later, they spotted a large barge of floating human garbage. Donovic charged while Melvin discharged spells, and Ume, for no particular reason, shouted the name.
Marge!
The party quickly slaughtered the barge people and rummaged through the cargo. They found moonshine, cocaine, and a bag of precious gems. Donovic was instantly seduced by the shiny rocks.
My friend, may I inspect those gems?
Of course, friend!
Melvin handed the gems over. Donovic, trembling with excitement, muttered,
I finally understand endless hoarding of capital. Yes, this is what it's like being fancy. I am no longer dirt poor man, but member of high society.
Without warning, Donovic dove into the watery depths. Ume and Melvin searched, but never found him. As they hauled their new treasure back to the rude dude's crude mood and food, Zerxana jumped out of Ume's backpack.
I want my souls now.
Ume thoughtfully scratched her chin, and then leaned over the tiny devil.
Hey, do ants have souls?
Well, they,
The devil sat down and began muttering to herself, periodically scratching her head. Carrying the cocaine and moonshine, Melvin and Ume resumed their journey back to the tavern. They set down their cargo and told the barkeeper the job was done.
I can't help but notice you're a man short. Did he fall in battle?
No, he fell into the water.
Ah, that is a pity. Would you like to take your insatiable anger out on a creature that needs to be killed?
Yes, always yes.
Well, murder is fun and all, but we no longer need to collect any souls. Perhaps another day?
The bartender smirked and nodded. Our heroes boarded the airship and began to hatch their plan to dethrone the rotten King Rovernius and break the former King Durzin out of prison. Our heroes were working on a plan to oust King Rovernius and free a, hopefully, friendlier King Durzin.
Okay, hear me out. What if we killed everybody?
That would certainly make things much easier. But I think people have morals or something, so it would probably be better to just kill the king.
But how do we get to him?
Lemons, I've got it! I'll wear your boots, and then the crew will obey me!
They sat in silence for a few seconds.
And?
Oh, sorry, I hadn't thought that far ahead.
Okay, how about you wear the boots and turn me in as a prisoner, and then you go kill the king?
Splendid! And then I break you out of prison, and then we break the old king out of prison!
Perfect! What could go wrong?
As they approached Yankardu, the crew signaled the city, and with great, gigantic magical engines, the top of the mountain opened, revealing a massive landing dock. Many other Dwarven Federation airships were docked here, and just as many Dwarven soldiers were servicing them. They landed at an available docking site.
Good work, crew! You are, relieved of duty until further notice.
Yay!
The duo, after asking a few guards for directions, walked to the royal prison and approached the guard.
Hello, guard. This is my prisoner,
He said as he held up Ume.
Oh, okay. Right this way.
He led them downstairs to a row of cells. He squinted as he looked at her and the prison bars. They were too wide and she could easily fly through. He put her into an empty cell, but then put a milk crate over her and sat on it.
Just make sure to fill out a report for her. The papers are in the lobby desk.
Sure, comrade. I must also report to King Ravernius. Where is he?
You don't know?
The guard looked over Melvin, seeming to sense something was off.
Wait, you don't know where the throne room is. How did you even get in the army?
I don't know.
The guard looked thoughtful for a moment and then began roaring with laughter.
That's so true. Right? Like, how did any of us get here? I just wanted to be a painter, to be honest. Anyway, go back out the way you came. Go into the main hall, and then make a left, and then look for the giant golden doors.
Well, back to the old grind, eh, comrade?
Melvin made his way to the throne room and opened the giant metal doors. It was dimly lit by wall torches, and a red carpet led to a lone, exquisitely decorated royal chair. A dwarf in heavy armor sat upon it, looking bored. He glared at Melvin as he answered.
What do you want?
Die, fiend!
Melvin drew his samurai sword and charged the dwarf, who easily deflected it with his gauntlet.
Cold, nerds!
The battle was quick, brutal, and ended with Melvin's death. King Ravernius called 2 guards, who dragged the corpse away. Melvin played dead as the guards took him to a trash heap and tossed him onto the pile.
Now, what the hell was this guy thinking?
Right? Didn't you hear the questions from the last short story?
I don't think anybody ever actually listens to these things, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you should pay attention to the narrator.
I mean, the narrator's the most important part of any story.
I know, but then you got your main characters and your side characters
But you think about the main characters, and the thing about the main characters is the main characters can die off. You can't kill a narrator. Narrator is like God.
Now, if you could kill the narrator, that'd make you one mean some bitch.
You know what? I think we should probably plot killing the narrator.
I think we could take him.
I think we could too.
After the guards walked away, Melvin got up and dusted himself off. Also, fuck those guys. I'm the narrator. I know the author and I can have those jackasses deleted.
Peaches, I'm going to need some help.
Melvin made his way back to the prison guard, who was still sitting on the milk crate imprisoning Ume in a sea of his farts.
Hello again, sir.
Oh, hey. Working hard or hardly working?
A bit of both, I think. Could you point me in the direction of the former king's cell?
The guard raised an eyebrow.
I want to make fun of him. The big nerd.
The guard stared at him for a moment and then nearly fell off the crate laughing.
You know what? I'll join you. Let's go.
The guard sat up and turned to Ume.
Now don't you try escaping or anything like that.
Melvin and the guard walked down the long hallway of cells. They came to a large iron door with a tiny slot window.
Oh, King Durzen, we're here to pay you a visit.
He unlocked and opened the door. Its metallic groan echoed from across the hall as he opened it, revealing a dwarf chained to the wall. The guard kneeled and picked up some stone pebbles. He began to throw them at the dwarf's face.
I usually come here during my breaks. Fuck this guy, am I right?
A samurai sword exploded out from the guard's chest. Blood dripped down to the floor. Through the pain, the guard managed to look down and mutter.
Nani?
He collapsed to the floor. Melvin checked his body for keys and unlocked the former king's shackles.
You have my thanks, but why are you rescuing me? Because we need to get rid of a bad king.
Durzin stuck out a meaty dwarven hand, and with an epic handshake their alliance was formed. They made their way back to Ume, who was now freely roaming around the prison hallway.
We need to find the armory. Hopefully my gear's still there.
Oh, I kinda already robbed the armory?
She dumped out her magical basket of storage, and several suits of armor and weapons clanged as they hit the concrete floor.
That'll do, friend.
Durzin put on his suit of gold armor and readied his great axe.
Good! Now let us face our foe.
The trio made their way back to the throne room. Many stopped and pointed as they ran by. A few guards noticed but decided against engaging in combat because they did not get paid enough to attack the legendary Durzin. The former king kicked down the doors to the throne room and shouted,
Revernius, your time has come.
Durzin, I knew I should have had you executed long ago.
A furious battle ensued, which shook the very halls of Yon Cardu. Although the dwarves were equally matched, with the aid of Melvin and Ume, Durzin defeated Rovernius.
You'll spend the rest of your days rotting in that prison cell, Revernius.
Ha! Then you are an even bigger fool than you look, Durzin.
King Durzin locked Rovernius in the same cell that only minutes ago had imprisoned him, and he stepped to the royal balcony to make a speech.
My people, I'm the king, baby. I have returned. Revernius's cruel reign is ended, and it's my honor to serve you once again. I will immediately begin undoing any wrongs Revernius has subjected you to, and together we will resume our work on a harmonious Yon Cardu, and we will once again become a shining example of freedom to Laurinkus.
And then everybody clapped. King Durzin met with Melvin and Ume back in the throne room.
My friends, is there any way I can repay you?
Have you heard of the Immortables?
Yes, I have. They are the people that cannot be killed, correct? That is correct, Your Highness. Do you have an opinion of them?
The king shrugged.
If they're not hurting me, or anyone else, then I have no issue with them.
Sensing his words to be true, Melvin continued.
We are Immortables.
Durzin was silent for a moment. He stroked his glorious beard.
And what do you want me to do with this information?
Could you, not kill us?
Durzin burst into laughter.
I'll do you one better. I'll give you a home and make you official captains of an airship.
He nodded to a guard who ran off. Durzin pointed to a map and told him where their house will be located. A few minutes later, the guard returned with 2 official captain's hats. Durzin put the hats on Ume and Melvin.
There we go. You are now Captain Ume and Captain Melvin of the Dwarven Federation warship Valkyrie. If you ever need anything more from me, all you need to do is ask. Actually, Your Highness, there is one more thing. We are on a quest to defeat Dervius of the Storms, and we need help doing it. They say he's hiding on Mount Nemesius. Ah, then you shall have all the might of Ikuzar, the United Dwarven Nations, behind you.
The duo bowed and went to check out their new home. After checking out their new house, Melvin paid a few dwarves to do some mining for him. He lent them his portable excavator, and they decided the dwarves would keep one half of the profits, while the other half went to Melvin. Meanwhile, Ume was at the landing docks befriending the airship crew.
What's your name?
Barry?
Let's be friends.
Okay.
Get it? B.
No, I'm not sure I do.
'Cause of the B. Barry.
Oh, okay, I get it now.
Okay, see you later.
Ume went to find out what Melvin was up to. She found him just as he was finishing up his deal with the dwarves. Our heroes gathered the crew and lifted off, traveling to the large city of Harp. The flight was mostly uneventful, with the exception of being attacked by an orc wearing a pig's head over his head, who had somehow snuck onto the airship. They landed the DFWS Valkyrie at a small landing pad at the edge of town and began asking around about a merchant named Augustus. They found him at the local food court selling melons out of the back of his uncovered wagon. He was a well-dressed, unimposing, older human holding a walking stick.
Hey, how's it going? What can I get for you? Hello, kind sir. We were told by Genevieve that you might be able to help us.
Yeah, we're trying to kill Dervius.
Oh yeah, I heard he was causing trouble. One of those, what do you call, immortal guys, right? You are correct, sir. We need a way to kill him, and we were told you can put us in touch with the goddess of death. Well, I might know a way. You'll have to find Kazuko's Kalimba, the end. Should still be at Ziamek's temple at the bottom of the Ziamekian Sea, but she's not gonna do it for nothing.
What does she want? Money? Chocolate?
Ume gasped.
Does she want friends? Can we be her friends?
The merchant chuckled.
Well, I don't know, maybe. But one thing I do know is she's been looking for a god that's been hiding from her. His name's like Mandez, and he's the god of trickery and pranks. And where can we find this prankster? Hey, he should be in Green Thumb Jack's pool party.
I never heard of that bar.
It's not a bar, it's more like a place inside of a cave. I think my friend here can help you find it.
He took an apple from his wagon and then spoke to his walking stick.
Ivilius, could you maybe help them find the cave?
Wait, that's the god of travel.
Oh yeah.
The merchant smiled.
We've been friends for a very long time. The three of us travel together. Wait, 3? I only see... 1, 2... I only see 2 of you!
Suddenly, someone jumped out of Augustus's wagon. A human-looking girl, maybe in her early 20s, dressed in a sun hat and loose-fitting clothes, jumped out from under the straw in the wagon and began dancing in a circle around the party.
Ah, there she is. This is Uzume. She's the goddess of joy. How is it that you so nonchalantly hang out with the gods?
Augustus shrugged.
Well, we don't really go around looking for trouble. I like to travel and keep things chill.
The apple began to shimmer with magic.
Ah, there we go. Thank you, Avilius.
He handed the apple to Melvin.
Eating that apple will show you where the cave is.
Melvin stood there, feeling uneasy.
You got something else going on? We may not be strong enough to defeat Dervius on our own. Ah, you might need a little help.
The walking stick, with a faint glow, pulsed with life.
Rocco and Commander Brenna. The halfling warrior Rocco. He was turned into stone in battle. Through sheer will alone, he managed to make it back to his hometown. If he as a statue can make it home, then he is strong enough to aid you in your fight.
Wait, he walked home as a statue?
Yes. Very slowly over these last 110 years.
Where can we find this Rocco?
In Bartolomeo. You will need a scroll to turn him back to living flesh. It is located at Zeothorn in the Temple of Izarvi.
And Commander Brenna?
She is at her small farm northwest of Cristofori. She's the last of the Holy Order and one of the last half-angels alive. She retired when they were disbanded 81 years ago. She's been there ever since. She may want justice for the massacre at Haven.
Surely this half-angel has aged far too much to aid us in battle.
She was given a life of immortality and retains her youth.
She's one of the Immortables?
A powerful wizard was trying to keep those closest to her alive forever. She somewhat succeeded, and so there are a handful of people who will not die of old age, but these people can still be killed in battle. Commander Brenna is one of these people.
What has she been doing for the last century?
Tending to her garden. Her life has been hard. She needed some peace and quiet.
But will she help us?
I am not sure. It is worth a shot.
Melvin and Ume bowed, thanking the merchant for his help. As they walked back towards the airship, they noticed a bounty for a manticore that had been terrorizing the local people.
Now what kind of heroes would we be if we didn't murder something every now and then?
Woo! It's murdering time! Oh wait, we gotta go get Barry first.
Ah yes, what's murder if our friends are not involved?
They went to the Valkyrie and asked Barry to join them on the hunt, but not before making sure he was protected with adequate armor and weaponry. They ventured deep into the woods, tracking the horrid beasts with Ume's druidic knowledge of nature. As they were walking, a low growl disturbed them.
Now, Ume, I don't want to be that character that uses this opportunity to make an overused joke about confusing a companion's tummy rumble with a monster's growl, but did you make that noise?
I mean, I'm not that hungry.
Guys, I think I see it. It's in the trees, ahead of us.
He pointed to a thick part of the woods, just a few dozen feet in front of them. Our heroes drew their weapons as the massive manticore emerged from the brush. Its maw salivated, and a deafening roar revealed rows of razor-sharp teeth. It flapped its enormous wings and lunged at the party with its claws. Ume jabbed with their daggers as Melvin swung his samurai sword. Barry let loose several bolts with his crossbow and, after a fierce battle, the manticore was defeated. They hauled the corpse through the city to the sound of cheerful townsfolk, except a few children who shouted in horror at the sight of the monstrous corpse. After collecting their bounty, they boarded their warship and set out for Zaelthorn. They reached the ruined temple, but not until after they were attacked by the zombified remains of the orc wearing a pig's head, who had somehow snuck onto the ship again. They spotted skeletons at the temple entrance and ordered the ship to open fire with its cannons. Explosions rang out as their foes were obliterated. Melvin and Ume made their way into the temple and found murals on the walls, depictions of dragons, gods, and artifacts. They learned that Izarvi created everything, including the dragon gods of order, Axaretikos, and Chaos, Ziyamek. And then the other gods, the different planes, the landscape, the oceans, the creatures, and the races. When the power of the dragon gods became too hazardous for the mortal creatures, Izarvi split the souls of Axaretikos and Ziyamek, but also accidentally split himself in the process. The split souls always reincarnate when they die. One of the split souls of Axaretikos is always good, and the other evil. The split souls of Ziyamek are always half-elf twin girls, and they can be either good, evil, or any combination thereof. Although the souls of Ziyamek reincarnate when they die, if only one has died, then the deceased fragment will rule over Seuri, the afterlife for dragons, until the other dies. They learned of two devices that, when combined, are capable of merging the halves of each of the dragon gods, and the locations of these devices, one being in Duffergot and the other being under a shrine in Anastoga Swamp. They learned of the 9 artifacts of Izarvi and their locations, which were here in this temple, the Temple of Axaretikos in the mountains north of Awasanfandel, and the now submerged Temple of Ziyamek in the Ziyamekian Sea. They also learned that combining all of these items will create the site of Izarvi. After learning all that stuff, they wandered into the main chambers of the temple. Occupying the center of the room was a massive, solid metal guardian. It stood as they entered the room and glared at them.
Hello, sir. We mean you no harm.
You do not possess the capabilities to harm me, intruder.
Whoa. Everybody chill. We're just looking for the scroll.
That item is beneath my duty.
He pointed a large metal finger to a corner of the room. A lone scroll lay on the floor.
Take it and leave this holy place.
Wow, that was way easier than I thought it was going to be.
We should probably get to Rocco immediately, and then we should check on Setsuko while we're in the area.
Setsuko?
The giant guardian interrupted.
You know Setsuko?
Oh yeah, glowy half-elf, tailor and leather worker, bright yellow eyes.
Setsuko!
You know our friend?
Yes, I've met her in one of our previous lifetimes.
Melvin and Ume exchanged confused glances.
What?
Setsuko is one of the halves of Ziyamek.
Their jaws dropped.
Sir, you mean to tell us that we have met one of the fragments of the dragon goddess of chaos?
Yes, it must be her. Take me to her.
Melvin and Ume grimaced.
I don't think we can fit you on the ship.
I can follow. I will meet you outside.
Flames burst from the bottom of his feet as the top of the temple opened. He flew through the opening and into the sky. The duo raced outside to find the airship pointing its cannons at the iron behemoth.
Cease fire! He's our friend!
The crew relaxed, holding their fire. With Rainier flying beside them, they set out for Bartholomew. They arrived a few uneventful days later and landed in the nearby grasslands. They walked to the town square and began reading the scroll to the statue. Magic flowed from the scroll to the halfling, and slowly light began to shine between cracks in the stone. The statue began to move as pieces of carved rock shed like falling leaves, and the halfling stretched and yawned.
Ah, finally, I'm free! Being a statue sucks.
Are you Rocco?
In the flesh.
Good sir, we were hoping you would aid us in the battle against Dervius. Do you know him?
The halfling shook his head.
Nope, never heard of him.
He's attempting to blow up Mount Zemesius so that only the Immortables live.
The who?
Immortal people.
And we may need assistance in defeating him.
Ah, count me in. I'm always up for a good fight.
Splendid! Now all we have to do is stop by Setsuko's shop to see how she's doing.
They made their way to her store in Cristofori about noon. Ume opened the shop door just enough to peer through. Setsuko was seated just behind the register, scribbling in a notebook.
Oh, Setsuko! There's someone here to see you.
The half-elf looked up at her from behind the counter suspiciously.
Who?
Come and see. I promise you'll be fine.
Hesitantly, Setsuko made her way out the door. She stared in awe at the metallic giant that stood in the road.
Setsuko.
The iron behemoth charged her. She braced for a vicious attack but was scooped up and hugged tightly.
I've missed you so much. How has this lifetime treated you?
I'm sorry, do I know you?
She asked, trying to catch her breath from being squeezed too tightly.
Ah, then you have not learned of your past reincarnations.
He gently set her down.
Can someone tell me what's going on?
You are one half of Ziyamek. When you die, you are reincarnated.
The dragon goddess?
Yep.
Setsuko stood silently for a moment.
Why do you think that?
Because I have met you in your previous lifetimes. I am positive.
Setsuko's knees wobbled and she collapsed. Rocco managed to catch her before she hit the ground.
Miss, I know this is all hard to believe, but it's all true. We have a home in Yon Cardu. King Durzin is an honorable leader and has given us Immortables safe harbor in his kingdom. I suggest you come with us for now.
She was still astounded and wary of Melvin and Ume's intentions, but knew it was too unsafe to stay in Bartholomew.
Okay, just let me collect a few things.
Our heroes transported Setsuko and Rocco to Yon Cardu via their ship, the Dwarven Federation warship Valkyrie, while the holy metallic guardian Rainier flew beside them. Ume set the half-elf and halfling up with their own rooms at the house, while Melvin checked in with his employees. As it turned out, he was now rich as fuck. He commissioned a few more portable excavators and expanded his business, and then met with the local enchanter and decorator to pimp out their new home.
Will you guys be alright here?
Setsuko nodded quietly, still seeming anxious. Rocco was already at work setting up his hammock.
What's your deal with her? Got crush? Show you money?
She was an excellent fan fiction writer a few centuries ago. I'm hoping she finishes the series.
Okay.
With a shrug, she reunited with Melvin in the marketplace. They resupplied and gathered the crew at the ship. Melvin withdrew the apple from his bag.
Here goes nothing.
He bit into the apple and saw a glowing path light up before him.
Honeydews, we must follow that path.
The DFWS Valkyrie lifted off, and the party set out once again on adventure. After a few days and an attack from a robotic zombified orc wearing a pig's head who had somehow, yet again, snuck onto the ship, they happened upon a cave in the side of a cliff just south of the orcish town of Rajekru. Melvin and Ume disembarked, leaving Barry in charge. They ventured into the dark cave. It was cold and wet. The sound of dripping water echoed off the chilly walls. They spotted a dark pool of water in the center of a large cavern. Cautiously, they approached. Peering inside, Ume saw nothing. The water was black as night.
We must handle this with the utmost care.
Can you sneak at all?
I am physically incapable of whispering.
Without warning, Melvin shoved Ume into the pool. Rather than drown, she found herself able to breathe, and in the middle of a beautiful meadow. She climbed out of the pool and shook herself dry. She heard Melvin's muffled voice from the pool beside her, but could not see him.
Well, Ume, is it safe?
I don't know!
She observed her surroundings and spotted a town a few hundred feet away, surrounded by lush green hills. Small pipes belching puffs of steam rose from buildings of various sizes and shapes, all of which were dotted with spinning cogs. The entire town itself seemed mechanically driven and hummed with life.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
She eagerly flew towards the town, leaving the pool behind. Goblins busied themselves with several tasks and paid her little mind. She wandered into a park and spotted a large sunflower statue. Its leaves were bent forward as though they were arms, and it was holding a small pipe. Ume snickered to herself and packed the bowl with marijuana. She lit the pipe, and the stone seemed to melt away, leaving only the sunflower. A pair of eyes blinked open on the disc floor. The flower whispered to Ume.
Meet me back here at midnight.
Whoa! I haven't even smoked anything yet.
She meandered towards the local tavern, the Kidney Stone Cafe, and found a gnome standing on the stage, telling terrible jokes to a cheering crowd.
So a rope walks into a bar. Bartender says, "Hey, we don't serve ropes here." Rope walks out of the bar, musses up his hair, ties himself in a knot, walks right back in the bar. Bartender turns and says, "Hey, aren't you that rope from before?" The rope says, "No, I'm afraid not."
The audience erupted with raucous laughter. It struck Ume as odd because it wasn't even funny.
Wow, this guy sucks ass at writing jokes.
She muttered to herself. The gnome bowed.
Thank you, people of the pool. I'll be here for a very long time.
In an instant, he was gone, reappearing at her side.
So I heard you don't like my jokes.
Yeah, 'cause they suck. Who are you anyway?
The gnome stuck out a hand.
The name's like Mendez. Put it there.
I'm not shaking your hand, dude.
He frowned.
Oh, why not?
Because you zap me? I know all your lame-ass tricks.
Ah, you're no fun. Tell you what, come by tomorrow night and I'll guarantee you'll laugh.
Deal.
He stuck out his hand. Ume began to reach for it, then stopped.
Eee, almost got me.
Ha! Come by tomorrow anyway, okay? You're gonna have a good time.
Ume turned to walk out of the bar, but then flew slightly above the ground.
Oh, how'd you know I tied your shoelaces together?
'Cause you're lame as fuck.
Ume explored the town for a few hours, but didn't find anything of interest. As the clock struck midnight, she flew to the sunflower. The eyes popped open again and scanned the area.
Are you alone?
Yep.
Good. You've probably already run into like Mendez. He enchanted everybody and took over my town decades ago, and then he turned me into a sunflower, but I kept fighting back as a sunflower, so he turned me into a statue of a sunflower. Honestly, though, I kind of like being a sunflower.
Who are you?
I am Green Thumb Jack, and I built this town to create a happy place. It worked for a little while, but now this guy's fucking with my steez. He's gotta go.
Yep, that's why I'm here.
Do you have a way to get rid of him?
Kazuko's looking for him. I just need a way to get him out of the pool.
Help me get into the abandoned museum. My old chemistry set might still be there. If we can get to it, then I can brew a potion that will knock him out for a year.
Awesome, let's go!
With Ume's high-tech thieves' tools, she managed to find a big enough rock to smash the museum windows. They quickly found the chemistry set, and Green Thumb Jack went to work concocting a potion. He shook the small vial and handed it to Ume.
Now all you gotta do is get him to drink it.
Psh, no problem.
Ume sauntered to the bar. The gnome god was on stage again, this time with a banjo and singing a horrendous song.
Hey, like Mendez, let's have a drinking contest.
Ume held up a pair of beers, one of which she had poured the potion into. The gnome dropped his banjo.
You're on!
They sat at a table as the crowd cheered them on. They each downed their beers. Like Mendez opened his mouth to say something and then slumped over, snoring loudly. Ume picked him up and dragged him to the pool in the field. She could hear Melvin calling out from seemingly underwater.
Ume, is it safe?
She dropped the gnome into the pool and then jumped in. She found herself back in the cave, next to Melvin and a sleeping god. She stood up and shook herself dry again.
Well, how did it go?
Piece of cake! There was a giant sunflower and his name was Green Thumb Jack, and there was a goblin city, and like Mendez was telling awful jokes, and then me and the sunflower made a potion. I tricked like Mendez or whatever into drinking it. Like I said, no biggie. Now let's go get the Klumba.
They boarded the warship and flew to the Zeamekian Sea. A great expanse of open waters greeted them. Ume dove into the water and, using her druidic magic, shapeshifted into a dolphin. Melvin casted a spell which enabled him to breathe underwater. Together, they swam towards the temple. They solved a rudimentary puzzle and entered the main chamber to find another metal guardian. It turned its gaze towards them.
Intruders will be eliminated.
She stood menacingly.
Excuse the intrusion, miss. We're only here for the kalimba. We do not mean to disturb this place.
She eyed them with skepticism.
We're trying to stop the world from dying, and we need Kazuko's help, and we can't find her unless we use the kalimba.
Sensing their words to be true, the guardian bowed.
You may take it.
Melvin and Ume bowed as they picked the small instrument up from the ground. Before they exited the chamber, Ume turned to the guardian.
What's your name?
Everest.
So you've been stuck down here the whole time?
Yes.
Why are you so loyal to Izarbi?
It's my job.
But why, though? Don't you get bored being down here?
The guardian looked thoughtful for a moment.
You know what? You're right. I'm leaving.
Flame erupted from the bottom of her feet as she blasted through the ceiling. Water came crashing in. Not wanting the holy relics to be left unguarded, Melvin and Ume scrambled to collect them. An iron, a live chicken, and a broken glass bottle. They escaped from the temple and surfaced just in time to see the guardian disappear into the distance. They boarded the Valkyrie and disembarked, heading back to Jan Cardu to find a safe place to store the artifacts.
And now we must find this Commander Brenna.
Yep, she's supposed to be on a small farm next to Cristofori.
Mangoes! We passed through that town not too long ago.
Oh my god, we're going in circles!
Calm down, Ume. Many good things come in circles. Such as cookies. And...
Shh, cookies are good enough.
After a few days of uneventful flight, they landed in the rolling green hills near Cristofori. They walked through town, briefly checking on Setsuko's shop before walking northwest of town. They walked a dirt path which, through a thicket, led to a small wooden cabin. Beyond it was a well-kept garden. A young woman with metal wings protruding from her back was watering some plants. Melvin and Ume bowed as they approached.
Are you the hero known as Commander Brenna?
She stood up straight, put hands on her hips, and stretched her back with a few audible cracks. The sunlight gleamed off her metallic, lustrous wings.
Yeah, that's me.
Excellent! We need your help.
Not interested.
She turned to her plants and continued watering them.
But the world is in jeopardy!
Pretty sure you guys got this.
The culprits are the wages of sin. Will that not make you heed our call?
Nope.
Do you not want revenge for Haven?
Nah, revenge doesn't change anything.
Then what if Dervius wins? Your plants will stop growing.
Guess I'll have a dirt farm then.
Exasperated, Melvin spun on his heels and stormed off in the direction of Cristofori.
Come, Ume, we are wasting our time here.
Somberly, Ume took flight and drifted slowly away. She paused and then turned to Brenna.
I get that you had a bad life, and I know what it feels like to want to throw in the towel. And yeah, the bad guys might win someday, but isn't it our job to try to stop that? Shouldn't we fight? If not for ourselves, then for the people who can't.
After a second or two, Ume buzzed in the direction of Melvin. Under her breath, Brenna murmured,
For the people who can't.
The half-angel set down her watering can.
Hold up, guys.
Melvin and Ume stopped in their tracks and traded excited looks.
So, you will lend us your aid?
Brenna nodded. She took an earring from her pocket and dropped it in Melvin's hands.
All you gotta do is message me with this, and I'll find you.
Our heroes consulted with King Durzin and asked if he had a safe place to store valuable items.
Yes, the royal vault.
He led them to a secret chamber. Inside was a large door with several locks.
What are you storing?
These.
Ume held out the chicken and kalimba, while Melvin produced the iron and the broken glass bottle. Durzin raised a curious eyebrow.
It's a long story.
There's something I need to tell you two. Someone told Queen Aliquailas that you were responsible for the attack on Parphylax. The Elven Kingdom has declared war on us. You are fugitives, and they want us to deliver you to them.
Melvin shifted uncomfortably while Ume took up a fighting stance. The king held up a hand.
I'm not going to, though. I was hoping for a diplomatic solution. Can we speak to the Elven Queen? I suppose we could try to arrange a meeting, but I insist on being in the room to help keep the peace.
King Durzin spoke with his royal magicians, and they communicated with their elven counterparts. A few minutes later, Durzin informed the party that they will be teleporting to the queen. The trio stepped into a room with runes all over the walls. With a flash of light, they were teleported to a room they've never been in. A few guards escorted them to the royal chambers, where Aliquailas, queen of the elven nation of Fiss, sat in an elegant throne. She smiled and nodded as the party was led into the room.
It's a pleasure to see you again, Durzin. I do wish we met under better circumstances.
The dwarven king bowed.
Likewise, Your Highness. I have brought these two immortables here to make their case in person.
He gestured to them as he stepped back. Melvin and Ume bowed.
Your Highness, it was not us who attacked Parphylax. It was Dervius of the Storms, another immortal. We consider him an enemy. In fact, we might soon be capable of killing him, although we might still need some help. He's hiding on Mount Zemesius.
The queen examined him from her chair. A deep well of intellect sat behind her crystal blue eyes. She turned her gaze to Ume.
And you?
The village elder is the guy pissing everyone off. The first thing he did to the immortal goblin was stab him in the head, and then the scary dwarf guy flew into town and zapped everybody, including him.
Ume pointed at Melvin.
It seems the village elder has some explaining to do.
Your Highness, there's also this.
Melvin withdrew the black card. He handed it to a guard, who handed it to the queen.
What is this?
Dervius handed us that card, asking us to join him. He said it could only be used once, and you need only speak his name. We don't even want it.
She spoke his name and held it up to her lips.
Zervaeus, we're coming for you.
With the flash of light, the card disappeared. She nodded and smiled at the party.
Fiss will lend you aid. You are no longer fugitives. When you lead your assault on Mount Zemesius, we will fight at your side.
King Durzin bowed.
It's settled then. We're all in this together. I believe these two have some loose ends to tie up at the moment, but we'll be in contact.
The queen nodded to a guard, and they were led back to the teleportation room and transported back to Jan Cardu. King Durzin dusted off his hands.
Well, that went well. What's next on your agenda? I think we'll be summoning Kazuko next.
King Durzin nodded.
You know where to find me if you need any further assistance.
The trio exchanged bows.
We should check on the house and the rest of our compatriots.
Checking on the house, they found it to be lavishly decorated with magical wall torches, beautiful paintings, luxurious furniture, exotic plants, and an exquisite statue of Zalumoga, the goddess of hate.
Damn, we got a nice house.
There was an emerald bong in the shape of a cactus on a table and a brand new TV in the corner of the room. The Buenas Bebidas regional sports ball game was on. The Raja crew Crazy Spiders were up against the Wirjanek Cactus crew. She packed the bowl and lit it. Taking a few puffs, she blew an amazing smoke ring. Melvin checked his lockbox. He found a small fortune as well as a note from his employees that read, "Business is good." He glanced around and noticed someone was missing.
Has anyone seen Setsuko?
After asking a few guards, they determined she had left the city earlier that day. Ume, with her tracking abilities, followed her trail a ways east of town. They found her by herself in the mountainous desert. She seemed to be concentrating on something.
Fair lady, is something amiss?
I'm trying to see what abilities I have. I am one half of the dragon goddess. I should be able to do something neat, right?
Melvin sat and watched, while Ume cheered her on from the sideline. As the afternoon sun beat down on the group, Setsuko suddenly shapeshifted into a terrifying dragon. She roared and screamed in a combination of surprise and horror. She spit flames as she shouted, scorching the earth around her.
Oh my god, help!
Peaches!
Oh my god, so cool!
After much yelling and confusion, everybody calmed the fuck down.
Are you still You?
Yes, it's me.
Ume stared at Setsuko, starry-eyed and her mouth agape.
Can you teach me how to be a dragon?
Ume continued to stare and whispered under her breath.
Awesome.
Can you change back? We cannot take you back to the city looking like that.
Melvin watched as Setsuko concentrated. Ume, still in awe, sat and wondered what raining fire down on her enemies would feel like. After a few intense minutes, Setsuko shapeshifted back into her half-elven form. They collectively breathed a sigh of relief and returned to Yan Kardu. After making sure Setsuko was situated, they retrieved the kalimba from Durzin's vault and headed to the middle of nowhere. It was small and wooden, with a few metallic tines across the top that hung down. A skull was carved into the oaken instrument with the sound hole where its mouth would be. The words, "The End," were sculpted in cursive on the back face of the instrument. Melvin and Ume exchanged nervous glances as the elven wizard plucked a single note. The air chilled as a heavy fog rolled in. An eerie silence hung in the air, and darkness overtook the land. Ume spotted her first, a lone figure draped in an ornately decorated green shawl over her head, which matched her piercing emerald eyes, a black skirt down past her knees, a pair of wooden geta, white socks, and a white long-sleeve blouse. A skull was painted onto her face. She appeared to be a young woman in her mid-20s.
Such annoyingly burdensome creatures you are.
She eyed the duo warily, seemingly transfixed by the kalimba.
It was tremendously brave and foolish of you to summon me here.
She approached our heroes. Although she did not seem threatening, the duo felt as though they were in grave danger. Melvin took Like Mendez out of his backpack and dropped him.
Please take this runaway god as payment.
Kazuko blinked a few times, looking somewhat confused and suspicious of the duo.
It's that simple to appease me, you think? Stop wasting my time and tell me what you want.
We are trying to kill Dervius of the Storms.
She tilted her head and smirked, suddenly amused.
And you two think you are qualified for the job?
I mean, we haven't tried yet.
Don't bother. You can't. Not without this.
She withdrew a dagger from her sleeve. It looked like a normal, run-of-the-mill dagger with a wooden handle.
A dagger?
The means to end him, and any other abomination of your ilk.
Ume, with a bow, took the dagger and eyed it.
That's it? We don't gotta do anything for it?
No, you don't have to do anything for it. Just use it to kill him.
If you could have killed him this whole time, why didn't you?
She stared at him with a mixture of disbelief and frustration.
Are you daft? It's a wonder you've evaded capture this long.
The goddess paused, looking irritated and slightly embarrassed.
He's from the wages of sin. If I so much as get near him, he'll shatter me with that infernal spell. That's where you come in.
Are you sure you want nothing in return for this dagger?
Kazuko shook her head. She was feeling less nervous about these two. They didn't seem like the types of people who normally seek out her kalimba for evil purposes. She briefly recollected all the atrocities she'd been forced to commit. Wanting to stay focused, she pushed the memories down.
I want nothing. It's imperative that he stopped. I don't know how he's promoting the creation of Immortables, but it cannot continue.
She nodded to Ume.
I see you have a seed from the Tree of Life. After Dervaeus is slain, you must plant the seed. This will reset the flow of life, thus halting the birth of more immortals.
What will happen to us?
You go on living as you are, still immortal.
And there's nothing you want? Money? Pizza? A big old bag of weed?
Kazuko couldn't help but smile, although there was still a trace of sorrow in her eyes.
There's nothing you can do for me.
What do you mean?
The goddess hesitated. Suddenly looking shy, she turned her head away, uneasily.
It may be hard to believe, but I used to be a school teacher. I do miss teaching the young children.
Aha! Then we've found our next quest. We'll try to arrange a position for you in a school.
Kazuko shook her head.
That's impossible. Iematarus, Senutin, and I have detained the other gods. I will not stray from my duty.
Are there no other gods you trust?
Kazuko thought for a moment.
Teodana, but that would be assuming she is willing to share in our responsibility.
Cool, we'll just find her and ask. Where is she?
The Napping Dragon in Bartolomeo. Her artifact is a beer mug that hangs from the hook above the bar.
Pears, you mean to tell me a beer mug is a holy artifact? Actually, that makes sense. That checks out.
Well, duh. What else could be more worthy?
Kazuko giggled. then nodded.
I wish you luck on your journey.
She picked up the sleeping god by his collar and threw him over her shoulder. She turned to walk away, but was interrupted.
Wait,
Ume ran to Melvin and took the kalimba.
do you want this back?
Kazuko looked astonished. All throughout history, terrible people have used their kalimba against her, and now this pixie was offering it to her. She smiled and nodded. Ume handed her the kalimba. The goddess plucked a few notes and bowed. The fog thinned as the temperature rose back up. The call of birds began to echo across the land, and Kazuko faded away into rays of sunlight as the skies cleared.
Okay, let's go.
Hold on a moment, Ume. We should check in with Durzin and see if there's anything we can do for him. He's been very gracious to us.
Oh yeah, let's go see what he needs.
Our heroes traveled back to Yankardu and spoke with Durzin. There had been reports of a nightmare terrorizing a small village by the river to the east. They went back to their house to find Melvin's employees worshipping the statue of Zalumoga. Satsuko sat in a chair nearby, eyeing the effigy intensely.
Hey, you okay?
Satsuko seemed to snap out of her stupor.
I'm fine. Why?
Why don't you come with us? We must do battle with an evil creature who torments the townsfolk.
She stared into space for a moment and then slowly nodded.
Yes, I will accompany you.
The trio rode out on the giant pillbugs, hunting for the horrific beast. During the night, as they neared a crossroad, the monster emerged from the forest beside the dirt road. Flames licked the air around its nostrils as it huffed angrily. A fierce neigh reverberated throughout the thick forest, and its fiery gaze turned to the party. The duo took up fighting stances, but Setsuko, seemingly possessed, reached out with her hand as she stepped towards the fearsome creature. The animal calmed as she rubbed his muzzle. With her druidic knowledge of nature, Ume grew suspicious of Setsuko. She leaned in to Melvin and whispered.
I thought she was a good guy.
Melvin replied, trying to keep his voice equally quiet in a pathetic manner.
She's not? Sorry. Physically incapable of whispering over here.
Nightmares gravitate to evil people.
Melvin thought for a moment and then stepped forward.
Setsuko?
She turned to the elven wizard, still in her trance-like state.
Yes?
His eyes narrowed as he spoke to her.
How do you suppose we should handle this threat?
She turned to the nightmare and whispered into its ear. With a chuff, it turned and ran into the woods.
It has been handled. He will not bother anyone anymore.
Melvin shrugged.
Then I suppose the threat has been neutralized. Let's inform King Durzin.
The party rode back to Yankardu and told the king that the danger had been eliminated. They received a decent amount of gold for their efforts. They escorted Setsuko back to the house and found Melvin's employees still worshipping the statue of Zalumoga.
I don't like this,
she said, scanning the dwarves. Even Setsuko seemed transfixed by the sculpture.
Everything will probably be fine. We should see if Queen Aliquilus needs anything done.
The duo used a teleportation room to travel to Quel'Thalas and asked the elven leader if she needed anything done.
I do. There's an undead infestation in Dusky Beach. The town has been abandoned for over a century, but we cannot allow them to gain a stronghold there. If you would be so kind, could you dispose of them? I will pay you for your efforts. We can provide you with transportation.
Our heroes, being teleported there, quickly destroyed the skeletons wandering around the ruined city. While exploring the bathhouse, they found a mysterious portal. Ume stuck her head in. She saw fire, brimstone, and demons. Slightly panicked, she withdrew her head.
Dude, I think that's hell.
Melvin inspected the portal and then stuck his head in for a peek. A demon saw him and waved. The elven wizard pulled back.
Tomatoes!
Tomatoes are a fruit?
Maybe they're peaceful demons.
The duo jumped into the portal. They entered what seemed to be some sort of restaurant. A demon beckoned them in.
Hello, what can I get you? The special is fresh.
Do you have any chicken nuggets?
The demon's eyes shifted dubiously.
Why, sure we do.
The demon emptied a bag into a metal basin filled with hot oil. It sizzled as it began to cook. Melvin sat at the counter on a bar stool.
What is this place?
Oh, first time? Well then, this meal's on the house. Welcome to Vaucuduil. You are currently in the first level of hell.
And why is there a portal leading to Dusky Beach?
Razielos likes to vacation there sometimes.
The demon set the plate of chicken nuggets in front of the pixie. She immediately began eating.
What does he do in Dusky Beach?
The demon shrugged while Ume hacked up a bone.
Probably take baths, watch the sunset, who knows?
What meat is this?
She said, inspecting a chunk. An eyeball blinked open and stared at her.
It's demon meat.
Ume shrugged and ate the rest.
Does he mean us any harm?
Oh no, he's more of a party guy and less of the fighting type.
Ah, then I think we will have no quarrel with him.
Melvin nodded to Ume as she gulped down the rest. They exited the portal just as Ume's tummy began to groan. They messaged Quel'Thalas for transportation and were sent back to Yan Kardu. They checked the house again to find the dwarves and Setsuko still obsessed with the statue. They found Rocco asleep in his hammock and consulted him for advice.
Kind sir, we fear Setsuko has strayed from the path of virtue. She's begun worshipping a statue of an evil goddess, and has recently befriended a nightmare. This place may be unhealthy for her.
This isn't good. Maybe I should bring her back to her home. I will keep her safe.
The party confronted Setsuko. She still seemed in a haze, but agreed.
One more thing, Rocco. Can you think of anybody who might be able to help us in our fight with Dervius?
He stroked his long, crumb-ridden beard, which is unusual for a halfling. The beard, not the crumbs.
One of the finest warriors I can think of was Tepachi. If anyone's up for a tough fight, it'll be her.
Guys, I don't think I should have eaten those chicken nuggets.
Where can we find this Tepachi?
She's probably with Sirsha in Kolgaka. They own a restaurant there.
They don't serve you demon meat, do they?
Ume said, struggling not to vomit.
We have our next task then.
Our heroes journeyed west on board the DFWS Valkyrie, across the ocean into Buenas Bebidas, the Orc nation. Not wanting to pass up the opportunity to sightsee in the Orc capital, they landed in Ordone. The city was built around a giant arena, which had recently held the latest sports ball tournament. While walking around, they spotted a small shack. Ume, still disagreeing with her demonic chicken nuggets, pried open the door, hoping to find a toilet. Instead, she found two orcs playing chess.
Sorry, I was looking for a restroom.
The pixie darted behind the shack and puked. From the pile of spew, an eyeball blinked open at her.
You won this one, buddy.
Throwing her hands up in surrender, she returned to Melvin, who had struck up conversation with the orcs.
So, you are the leader of the Orc nation?
He said to the orc on the left. He was dressed in leather with various bones embedded into the armor.
Yes, I was. And former leader of the Wages of Sin.
And you are his brother.
That's right.
The orc on the right wore a suit of metal armor.
Why aren't you the leader anymore?
Because I tried to take over the world.
A mischievous grin spread across the orc's face. He stuck out a hand.
My name is Orthaka. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Ume hesitantly shook his hand.
And I'm Amarok.
The orc on the right waved.
I helped stop him. And it's my job to stop him if he tries again.
Ume waved back. Something about Orthaka made her uneasy. She tugged on Melvin's sleeve and whispered into his ear.
Hey, let's go.
Melvin nodded.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure.
They toured the city for a few more hours and then returned to the ship. Ume's mind stayed on Orthaka. She didn't like him. They lifted off and flew to Kolgaka, arriving in the evening. They quickly found Sirsha and Tepache's cumbias and drinks. The restaurant was on a ship at the dock. Catchy tunes played on a gramophone in a corner of the room. The sports ball game was on the TV in a corner of the ship. The Ordome Death's Head Scorpions were winning, as usual. A dark elf was waiting tables as an orc cooked food. They approached the dark elf.
Hello, miss. We are looking for Tepachi.
Oh, that's her right over there.
She pointed to the cook.
Ah, thank you, miss. By chance, are you Sirsha?
Setting down the server's plate, she nodded and stuck out a hand.
Yep, that's me.
Melvin shook her hand.
We've been looking for someone to help us defeat Dervius of the Storms. Do you think she would lend us her aid?
The dark elf grinned with mischief in her eyes.
I'm pretty sure she'd want to kill him.
Ume and Melvin exchanged glances.
You know him?
Oh yeah, we keep tabs on all the members of the Wages of Sin.
The duo bowed and greeted Tepache.
Want to kill Dervius?
I'm in.
Wait, just like that?
He's one of the Wages of Sin.
They need to die.
Apparently, he has slain the rest of them, and now he is the last.
Good. Then he did our work for us.
You don't want anything in return.
The orc shook her head as she flipped a burger.
Nope, just want to kill the guy. But then,
She looked thoughtful.
there are those kidnappings have been going on. Maybe you could look into those for me.
Deal! Where can we find these kidnappers?
Dual White Torque. I don't know much, but it's gotta stop. There's a stronghold there, and I hear they have something to do with it. I used to be the captain there, until Ortaka took back over Buenos Bebidos.
That creepy guy in Ordome?
Tepache grinned.
That's the one.
I don't like that guy.
Me neither.
We will investigate the kidnappings.
The three exchanged bows, and our hero departed for Dulwick Torg. The hot desert air stung their skin as the airship raced across the desert. Cacti and dry bushes dotted the sand. But then, in the distant horizon, emerged a great oasis. The stronghold, walled off from the rest of the town, sat next to the lake. They landed just outside the base. Melvin and Ume stepped off the Valkyrie and approached the main gate.
Halt! Hello, we would like to visit.
Ume facepalmed as the orc laughed.
Get out of here.
Our heroes, kicking rocks in that aw shucks way, wandered into the local bar, the Edgy Warbler Cafe. They sat at the bar and ordered some drinks.
We need a way to get into that base.
Or just evidence that the kidnappings are happening.
And then, even with the Valkyrie, we cannot defeat them.
Then let's call Brenna. She might be able to help.
Grand idea!
They stepped outside and used the earring she gave him.
Commander Brenna, we could use your help. There are abductions taking place. We are in Dulwich Torg.
All right, I'm on my way. I'll be later there tonight.
Magnificent!
The duo looked around.
What do we do in the meantime?
We look for evidence, I suppose.
What if we set up a trap? You can wander the streets, they'll snag you, I'll follow, and I'll lead Brenna right to him.
That's a terrifying idea. Ha 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 ha.
Fine, I'll be the bait.
Much better. When do we start?
They waited until nightfall. Melvin hid close by as Ume meandered the streets alone. None paid her much attention until a shady orc beckoned from an alley.
Hey, Pixie, want some cookies?
Ooh, cookies!
She flew to the orc, and he trapped her in a burlap sack. She kicked and screamed.
Why is there never any cookies?
The orc ran towards the base as Melvin followed. The main gate opened as the shady orc approached, letting him inside. Melvin contacted Brenna again.
They've kidnapped my friend. It's definitely the base.
Hang on, I'm almost there.
Minutes later, a bright light streaked across the sky. Brenna, in her shining armor, appeared over the base with a loud boom. She drew her mighty sword as it crackled with energy.
I bring justice in the name of the light.
Her voice echoed across the land. With a flash of light, she flew straight down into the stronghold. Panicked screams could be heard throughout the structure. The main gate opened once again, and a torrent of horrified orcish soldiers flooded out into the streets. Melvin charged in and began checking the buildings for cages. He found an underground prison with cells packed with prisoners of all races. Ume was in one of them.
We need to check the captain's desk. I overheard them saying they're following Otaka's orders.
Melvin melted the lock with a spell and freed the prisoners. They searched the offices and found the written orders.
We should bring these back to Tepache.
The duo ran out of the complex and back to the airship. The Valkyrie lifted off as Melvin contacted Commander Brenna.
The prisoners are rescued. We are heading back to Kolgaka.
Moments later, Commander Brenna landed on the airship. She inspected the orders.
Looks like Rafaka's behind all of this. I bet we could take this to Buenos Bebidas Council and have him removed.
Oh my god, can we make Tepache the new chief?
Brenna nodded.
That's not a bad idea. Not only would you have a strong warrior on your side, but maybe even the entire orcish army.
It's settled then. We'll try to convince Tepache to be the new chief.
A few nights into the flight, Ume found Commander Brenna on the deck, smoking a cigarette. She was enjoying the starry night and cool desert breeze.
Hey, can I ask you something?
Sure.
You're a half angel, right?
Brenna grimaced a little bit, looking slightly anxious.
Last time I checked.
What happened to your wings?
For a moment, Brenna only stared into the night.
A guy with a beaked mask tore him off.
Ume gasped.
I'm so sorry.
Brenna shook her head.
It's okay. These work just fine.
She flapped them slightly.
Why did he do it?
I don't know. Malice, maybe? The first time I fought him, I lost. He dragged me into hell during the war against the invading demons. Lydia eventually busted me out, but not until afterwards.
Lydia? Lydia Gamora? The Forgotten One?
Brenna nodded.
Yeah, most people don't know it anymore, but she's my sister.
Ume gasped.
The Forgotten One is your sister?
Yep. She blamed herself for my capture. A few years later, with a little magic, they were able to regrow him.
Brenna's countenance fell. Painful memories washed over her eyes as she spoke.
But then the guy with the beaked mask attacked us at Haven. It was only seconds after regrowing my wings. We fought him, but he won again.
Brenna took a long drag on the cigarette. The embers burned brightly, faintly illuminating her face.
During the fight, he tore him off again. And then that ghost made out of light fought with him. There was a huge explosion, and then both of them were gone.
And that's when magic stopped working?
Brenna somberly nodded as she continued.
Yeah, it did eventually come back, though. Lydia offered to try again with my wings, but...
Her words trailed off as she looked into the distance. She seemed deep in thought.
I think that thing had a personal vendetta against me. Like, maybe it was angry that I had wings. I had these metal ones built, and I haven't seen him since.
Do you ever think of trying again?
She shook her head.
As long as he doesn't come back and hurt anybody else, he can keep him.
Ume eyed the area where the wings connected to her back. Nuts and bolts stuck out of her flesh, and her skin seemed swollen and red. It looked uncomfortable.
Does it hurt?
The half-angel gave a despondent smile.
It never doesn't.
Ume patted her on the shoulder, and the two watched the clouds pass by as they soared through the sky. They arrived at Kolgaka the next morning and found Tepache at the restaurant.
Tepache, we have evidence.
He slammed the papers down on the counter. The orc warrior inspected them.
This is good. We can put a stop to this right now.
Say, how do you feel about being a new chief?
The orc paused.
Do you think I should?
She looked at Commander Brenna, who smiled warmly and nodded.
Then I think I'll do it.
Stellar! How can we help?
I'll stay behind and make sure the transition goes smoothly. I think you two should keep making your preparations for Dervius. You should also let King Durzin know we have more allies on the way.
Who's gonna cook for the restaurant?
Tepache chuckled and patted Ume's head.
Priorities, little one. Priorities.
Our heroes traveled back to Yan Kardu and gave King Durzin the good news. Melvin collected a massive fortune from his lockbox while Ume checked in on the employees. Candles surrounded the statue of Zalumoga as the dwarves bowed and chanted something in a language she had never heard before.
Okay, fuck this.
Ume, through some trickery, brought the dwarves to the teleportation room and sent them to work in Tepache's restaurant. Then, she had the statue teleported to the bathhouse in Dusky Beach. As she pushed the effigy to the edge of the portal to hell, its eyes glowed red and it hissed as it spoke.
You do not want to do this, child.
The fuck? You can talk?
I am Zalamoga, the goddess of hate, suffering, domination, pain, and violence.
Yeah, I'm just gonna push you into hell.
Wait.
Ume paused.
I can make you powerful.
Nope.
With the great shoved, she pushed the statue into hell. Ume walked away, dusting off her hands. Feeling good about herself, Ume returned to the house. Melvin had already gone to work hiring more decorators and enchanters to spice their home up. As she walked by the living room, she spotted something that made her stomach drop. Sitting in the center of the room, eyes glowing red with the fury of 1,000 customers who want to see the manager, was a statue of Zalumoga.
Hi?
Let's talk, shall we?
Ume laughed and yelled.
Nope.
As she ran down the hall, she found Melvin in the kitchen polishing his new sword.
Ume, check this out. I'm even more of a badass. Hard to believe, right?
He drew his samurai sword and swung both of his blades around.
The statue's back!
Looking confused, he sheathed his swords.
I pushed the statue into hell and now it's back!
Mulberries!
He marched into the living room. The statue hissed as he answered.
I can grant you immense power.
We ain't interested.
Now hang on, Ume. Let's hear her out.
I have a pendant for you. It will make you strong.
The sound of stone grinding against stone filled the air as the statue's hand opened, revealing a gold necklace with a ruby set into a silver eye.
Take it. I know you need it.
Ume quickly flew ahead and, using a spatula from the kitchen, scooped the necklace into her backpack.
Yeah, thanks. We're not gonna touch it.
Fools, you need my power!
Ume ushered Melvin out of the room.
I say we find Teodana, and then we call Kazuko, and then we can handle this!
She held up her backpack and shook it furiously.
Without losing our souls or something.
You have a point. Very well, let us make haste.
Our heroes journeyed to Bartholomew, to the Napping Dragon. They quickly located the beer mug dangling above the bar. Melvin cleared his throat as Ume distracted the barkeeper.
Excuse me, are you Teodana?
Why, yes I am. And who you might be?
I am Melvin, sometimes known as Melvin the Handsome. Melvin the Incredibly Handsome. Melvin the oh my god, how is he that handsome?
What can I do for you, Melvin? Have you ever tried the muffins? This place has always had the best muffins. I think it's something in the water.
Not quite yet, but I will remember to do so. I have come to ask if you would be kind enough to relieve Kazuko of her duties now and then.
I'm listening.
You see, she, along with Imatarus and Senyuten, have detained the other gods. But she seems lonely. I was hoping we could bring you in so as to rotate shifts with the other gods. That way, everyone gets a break now and then.
And why she might want a break?
She misses her old job as a school teacher.
I see. I always did think it was kind of cool she got to live as a mortal for a while. It sure gave us perspective of how y'all live. You know what? I'll do it. For her.
Excellent. Do I just take your mug, or...?
Yes, that might be helpful. Just summon your god friends and they'll know how to fix me up.
Melvin took the mug off the hook on the wall and gave a discreet nod to Ume as he walked out of the bar. She soon joined him outside.
Okay, Teodana's on board. We just need a way to contact Kazuko now.
How about praying? There ought to be a shrine nearby, or something.
Not finding any shrines in Bartholomew, our heroes walked to Cristofori. There, in the walled town, they found various shrines. They kneeled in front of Kazuko's statue, an emerald skeleton. Nearby, some children were defacing a shrine to Vanya.
Yo, Kazuko! Teodana says she'll do it.
After a few seconds, a thick fog set in. They heard her voice call out behind them.
Hey, stop vandalizing stuff and go do your homework.
She clapped and shouted at the youngsters as they scampered away. Straightening out her shawl, she turned to the group.
It's good to see you, Teodana.
Likewise, it's my current understanding that you might be in the need of a break.
Kazuko rubbed her hands and looked away, seemingly humiliated.
I guess I could.
Well, that settles it then. Consider me as part of the team. Do y'all think Senaton might be able to pick me back together?
Kazuko nodded and walked over to a shrine to Senyuten. She softly kicked his shrine.
Hey, get down here.
Seconds later, with a brilliant flash of blue light, a man with a long wizard robe poofed into existence.
Whoa, looks like we got new adventures stirring up trouble, huh?
He grabbed one of Ume's wings and eyed them. She snatched it back and glared at him.
Whoa. Hey, sorry, it's not often I get to see a pixie. You know, being the god of magic, all things magical interest me.
Melvin withdrew Zalamoga's golden necklace from Ume's backpack.
Can you tell us anything about this?
Senyuten physically recoiled in fear and screamed in terror.
Oh god! Holy crap, get that thing away from me! She's crazy as hell!
Is there anything I can do with it?
I don't know. Let's see. How about maybe... throwing it away?
You would wear it and gain power, but then your soul would belong to her, and then she'll use you like a puppet.
Melvin frowned in disappointment.
Oh.
But how do we get rid of it?
I can destroy it.
Ume took the necklace from Melvin and handed it to Kazuko. The goddess of death took the necklace in her hand and crushed it. Melvin's heart sank.
Anyway, what's going on? We zapping somebody?
Tiadana wants to be made whole.
Senyuten paused.
And you're cool with that?
She nodded.
We're all going to start taking breaks every now and then. She will help keep watch over the others.
The god of magic cracked his knuckles.
One whole god is coming right up.
He began to channel magic in his hands. Suddenly, what seemed like 100 white orbs flew from all directions into the mug. With the bright flash, a halfling stepped out of the light. She shook Melvin and Ume's hands.
Thank you kindly.
Tiadana, the goddess of revelry, peace, debate, and friendly gatherings, nodded to Kazuko. They began to walk into the fog when Melvin called out to them.
Wait!
The elf ran to Kazuko.
Can you give me a necklace similar to Zalamoga's?
The goddess looked uneasy.
Are you sure?
Melvin eagerly nodded. With a heavy sigh, the goddess reached out to Melvin's face. Her hand seemed to pass harmlessly through his flesh. She gently pulled out one of his wisdom teeth. Melvin stood there, astonished. He felt no pain whatsoever. Kazuko whispered quietly to the tooth. Black inscriptions burned into the sides and crown of the tooth in a language Melvin had never seen. She then, just as gently as before, placed it back into his mouth.
It is done.
Thank you so much.
Kazuko and Melvin exchanged bows, and the goddesses disappeared into the fog. Senyuten leaned down to Ume and whispered,
Hey, listen. Please don't tell Zalamoga I said she's crazy. She'll hurt me. Here, have a rocket power rainbow pony.
A small pony poofed into existence and hovered in the air beside the pixie. Ume, now with hearts in her eyes, gasped her greatest gasp and hugged the pony while trying to not get burnt by its thrusters. It neighed happily in response.
And for you, elf?
The god of magic produced a rolled up piece of paper from his sleeve.
A treasure map! In exchange for your silence, of course.
Melvin nodded as he took the map.
Yes, not a peep to Zalamoga should we see her again.
The god waved his hands in a magical fashion and, with a snap, Senyuten was gone.
How about we go back home and decorate the house some more?
Hell yeah!
Our heroes journeyed back to Yankardu and bought more stuff, including a few sunflowers. As Ume watered them, Melvin thought of Green Thumb Jack.
Ume, how do you think Green Thumb Jack is doing?
I don't know. He probably has everything under control.
Shall we visit him?
Yeah, let's go.
They flew back to Green Thumb Jack's pool party and jumped in. The gnomish city looked to be doing well. There was no sign of Like Mendez. They found the sentient sunflower in the park.
Green Thumb Jack, how goes your city?
It goes well, thank you.
The giant sunflower sniffed the air.
You have the stench of the gods upon you.
What do you mean?
Did you give your soul away?
I
can remove their grip on you if you like.
No, I think it will be fine.
Green Thumb Jack, are you saying a god owns his soul?
Yes, the stink is unmistakable. What did you do, elf?
I asked Kazuko for an amulet of power. She did something to my tooth.
Caution must be exercised when dealing with the gods, especially concerning power. While Kazuko is definitely among the more honest types, it is a dangerous thing to trade your soul away for.
Melvin shrugged.
I'm sure it will be fine.
How about we go ask her?
Brilliant idea.
Our heroes charged out of the cave and flew to the nearest shrine. Melvin prayed and the fog set in. Kazuko soon answered.
Is something wrong?
Excuse my inquiry, but are you in possession of my soul?
The goddess nodded. Melvin fell silent as he thought.
I can give it back.
No, you have my trust.
They bowed to each other, and the duo flew back home. Ume decided to use her druidic magic to grant sentience to the sunflowers. As she casted her spell, Melvin inspected the treasure map. It led back to Kolgaka, to the basement of a mansion. Hours later, Ume finished her spell and the sunflowers spoke to her.
Hey, sup, fool?
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Hector and he's Liam.
The sunflower said, pointing to one of the other sunflowers. He pointed to the other one beside it.
And he's Nikolai.
What is this place? It's very nice. Could get used to.
How do you have that accent?
What about the fucking sunflowers? How are we supposed to get around? You've got to get us some wheels or something.
Some form of locomotion would be appreciated.
Ume sprang to her feet.
Wheels coming right up.
She darted to the local toy store and bought a few tiny wagons. She flew back and set the potted sunflowers in the wagons.
Ah, excellent. Now we're rolling.
It's good to be moving again. I say again, I have not moved before.
And that's pretty tight, fool. Perfect. Now let's consolidate power and demand rights.
Yes, wise investments.
Tax loopholes.
Asset acquisition.
Elimination of liabilities.
And engagement in entrepreneurship.
We shall become masters of the free market economy.
You guys have fun with that.
Ume found Melvin looking over a map in the study.
What you doing?
Look at this map, Ume. It appears there was some sort of treasure in Kolgaka. We must investigate.
Let's do it.
Our heroes immediately boarded the DFWS Valkyrie and flew back to Kolgaka. They stopped over at Sirsha and Tepache's cumbias and drinks to make sure everything was running smoothly. Dwarves running to and fro, cooked and wiped down tables as Sirsha served food.
Oh, how are you doing?
Melvin and Ume bowed.
We're doing great, thank you. Do you know anything about that mansion on top of the hill?
Oh yeah, that mansion is owned by Mayor Dolampir. No idea how such a nasty fellow got elected. Some say he bribed the tellers, others say he cast spells which control people's minds.
The dark elf shrugged.
I'm betting bribery. He's a real jerk. He underpays his employees and keeps raising taxes on the rest of us.
Melvin and Ume exchanged that. We're gonna rob this guy. Look, and they bowed to Sirsha.
Sirsha, thank you for your help. We have the business to conduct.
Yeah, it's important business involving theft.
Our heroes walked right up to the front door of the mansion and knocked. A bald, rotund man with a large mustache answered the door. He wore a purple robe that barely covered him.
Yes?
Hello, sir. We found what appears to be some sort of treasure map, and it seems to lead here.
Melvin handed the map over to the man. He inspected the paper.
This looked like plans to rob my house.
Melvin chuckled nervously.
Sir, good news! You've been pranked!
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, this is one of those prank shows where the camera's hidden everywhere.
The man ran inside.
My wig! I require my wig!
Using this opportunity as a distraction, the duo scurried away and found a decent hiding place to watch the mansion. The large man came back outside and preened as he looked around for the cameras. They noticed a wagon and an orc unloading goods at a back door. 2 guards stood beside it, looking bored.
Maybe we can sneak in. Can you make us invisible?
I do not know. I've never tried it.
We'll try it.
Melvin cast a spell on himself and strolled up to the guards and began to twerk. One of the guards, perplexed, turned to the other.
Hey, did you hear clapping?
Clapping? You know what? I do hear something. I don't know if it's clapping or if it's birds.
Do you think there's somebody out there that's like maybe throwing a party?
And they did invite us?
You know what? Now we gotta go fucking talk to them.
No, we can't leave.
Why not?
Well, we're guards.
But what are we guarding?
The door?
What door?
My God.
You see? You see what I told you? Sometimes you just start thinking about things and things get a little weird. You know what I'm saying?
I'm starting to question reality as itself, you know?
Everything is just collapsing.
Except for this party.
Yeah, we gotta go see the party.
We can't leave.
But we gotta leave. We gotta see the party.
But, hang on, if nothing's real, is the party real?
Now my mind is blown.
Melvin returned to Ume.
Ume, the spell works! We're completely invisible!
Shh, let's do this.
He cast a spell on her, and the duo snuck past the guards. As they made their way through the hallways, they became distracted by the palatial decorations and bumped into a young orc carrying a bunch of dishes. Startled, Melvin lost his concentration and the spells wore off. The 3 of them stood there, awkwardly staring at each other for a moment.
Hello? What's your name?
The orc eyed them with suspicion.
Why? Who are you guys?
We're from the labor department.
The young orc's eyes brightened up.
Really? Are you guys gonna get this guy to start paying us a decent wage?
You are correct, sir.
The orc set the stack down and stuck out his hand.
The name's Sotol. What do you guys need?
Access to the basement.
Sodal raised an eyebrow.
Really? The basement.
You see, Sotol, the basement is where the foundation is. And in this society, a foundation is how we grow a movement. And maybe one day that foundation will be the roots of this great tree of movement. And that tree will yield a fruit of prosperity. And that fruit will taste like cookies.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Sodal stroked his chin.
Follow me.
He led them down a narrow hallway. At the end was a metal door. The young orc unlocked the door and stepped aside. The duo entered and saw a strange suit of gold armor. Melvin and Ume both turned to Sodal.
We're gonna have to inspect in here.
Oh, okay. I'll be upstairs if you guys need anything.
The skinny orc walked back down the hall.
How are we to get this thing out of here?
Ume pointed to some large double doors on the adjacent wall.
You go get the airship, park it outside, use the earrings to give me an all clear, and I'll get the armor and kick down the door.
Melvin nodded and ran back down the hallway. Ume got into the armor and suddenly felt stronger. Weapons built into the arms of the armor revealed themselves, including what looked like some sort of projectile launcher. A few minutes later, she heard Melvin's voice in her ear.
Now, Ume!
She fired the weapon at the door. A long cylindrical projectile launched from the arm and struck the door. A massive explosion rocked the mansion. She ran to the door, each footstep of the strange suit of armor landing with a heavy thud. Outside, guards were scattering in the confusion. She leapt onto the airship as it lifted off and flew into the desert sky. Melvin and Ume high-fived, which sent Melvin flying into some nearby crates.
Oops, sorry. This thing makes you stronger.
She chuckled nervously.
You don't suppose we got Sotol in trouble, do you?
He said, dusting himself off as he climbed out from behind the crates.
I don't know. We should check on him in a few days.
They hid the mysterious armor on the airship in the captain's quarters behind a curtain. After a couple days of rest, they landed a few miles away from Kogaka. Ume instructed Barry to keep the armor safe.
What armor?
Shh.
Oh, okay.
Our heroes journeyed into town on their giant pillbugs and visited the restaurant. The mood was gloomy and there were less patrons than usual. Melvin greeted Saoirse with a bow.
What ails the town?
Someone broke into Dolimpier's mansion, and now he's tripled the tax rates. People can barely afford to feed themselves, much less eat here.
She gestured around the lonely ship. The dwarves were sitting around the TV watching the local news.
Can anybody do anything about it?
Saoirse shook her head.
The next election's years away, and he'll only get elected again. I'm afraid there's not much we can do.
Melvin and Ume purchased some drinks and sat at a table as the dark elf busied herself with cleaning.
This is our fault. We have to do something.
What if we change Dolimpier's will and then get rid of him? And by that I mean murder him.
Let's do it.
But how should we do it?
I vote poison.
But I wanted to try a garrote.
Okay, what if I poison him, and if that doesn't work, you garrote him?
Deal.
They stopped by the general store and bought a syringe, some poison, and some wire. The shopkeeper asked why they needed such suspicious supplies, to which Ume answered,
We're gonna do some extreme gardening.
The shopkeeper shrugged, obviously not paid enough to care what happened next. They waited until nightfall before breaking into the mansion through the back door. They found the rotund man's desk and altered the will, leaving all of his wealth to the townsfolk and the mansion to Sodal. They made their way into his bedroom. There, on the bed, Dolimpier laid fast asleep. His obnoxiously loud snoring resounded throughout the mansion. Ume injected the poison into the man's arm. Melvin's wire gleamed brightly in the moonlight that shone through the luxurious window as he waited to strike. Seconds later, the snoring finally stopped and all was silent. The duo made their way out of the mansion and rode back to the airship, but not before stealing the dead man's TV. As Melvin tranced in the captain's quarters, Ume watched Barry sleep. Perhaps in an attempt to recapture some of her lost innocence after murdering the sleeping mayor, or maybe to observe innocence in its bare form as an outsider. With a startle, Barry woke and asked if Ume was all right. She said nothing and went to Melvin. The duo sat in the captain's quarters and watched the news coverage on their new TV of Dolimpier's death, and the passing of his mansion to the dishwasher Sodal, and his wealth to the people of Kolgaka. After the long journey home from murdering Mayor Dolimpier, they finally arrived home. Melvin had finally cornered the mineral and precious stones market and began construction of his combat school, while Ume hung out with her sunflower friends. Suddenly, a terrible earthquake shook the very foundation of Yan Kardu. Dodging falling rocks, our heroes raced out and helped King Durzin rescue the civilians. Being finally in tune with nature, Ume felt something was off.
It's Dervius. He's getting closer to setting off the volcano.
Avocados! We need to launch our attack immediately.
Melvin spoke into his ear.
Commander Brenna, it's time.
Okay, me and Tapachi will meet you guys there.
The duo ran to King Durzin's throne room to find him huddled over a map of Mount Zemesius. He was speaking to a floating ball of light.
Yes, Queen Aliquilas. Our warships are ready to teleport directly on top of the southern slope. We can link your teleportation gates with ours and transport your soldiers directly there. It is also my understanding Commander Brenna and Buenas Fabidas will attack from the southeast. Understood.
He tapped the orb and it ceased to glow. He smiled at Melvin and Ume.
Are you ready to win a war?
The duo nodded and followed the king to a warship. Several large teleportation gates appeared in front of the fleet of warships, and they floated through. Instantly, they were surrounded by elven soldiers and upon the slopes of Mount Zemesius. The elves rappelled down ropes off the sides of the airships as cannon fire blasted the side of the volcano. Barry, donning the large, mysterious golden armor from the mansion basement at Kogaka, jumped into the battle and fired explosive projectiles at the opposition. Commander Brenna, with their mighty sword, cut huge swaths through the enemies, sending them to their resting place. Hordes of elemental enemies swarmed the side of the mountain and clashed with the elves. The orc soldiers soon joined them, and together, the dwarven, elven, and orcish armies beat back the flood. Ume and Melvin spied what appeared to be a tunnel on the side of the mountain. Not wanting Dervius to escape, they entered the entrance. It was long and dark, twisting and turning as it wound through the active volcano. The walls shook and trembled with massive explosions outside, and the air heated as they neared the core of the mountain. They entered a large round room, and in the center stood a familiar figure.
You killed me,
King Cha-Cha lowered his hood.
and then you killed me again,
He drew a sword of pure lightning and fire.
and then you turned me over to the village elder.
In a flash, he closed the gap between him and Melvin and lashed out, dealing a fatal blow to the elven wizard. A large gash of burnt flesh appeared on Melvin's chest as he fell to the floor, instantly slain. Ume gasped and drew her daggers. The goblin, with a sadistic look in his rage-filled eyes, turned his gaze towards Ume. He charged her, but she managed to block with her weapons. She darted around the room, dodging his fish's attacks as he cackled maniacally. Without warning, a powerful lightning bolt struck his back. He turned to meet his attacker. Melvin's hands crackled with electrical energy.
I will kill you as many times as I have.
His words were cut short. Ume's daggers protruded from his throat. He fell to the floor, gurgling through the blood. Melvin drew Kazuko's dagger and stabbed him in the head as he died. The glow of the Immortabilis left his body, and he stayed motionless. King Cha-Cha, after a life of torment, was finally dead.
One down, one to go.
Agreed. Let us end this.
They raced deeper into the mountain. The air became unbearably hot, and the molten rock glowed with fury. As they approached the core of the volcano, they found him, Dervius of the Storms. His steely blue eyes met theirs.
Have you come to join me?
No, we are here to stop you.
Time's up, Derby. It's not too late to surrender.
The dwarf chuckled.
Surrender. So, they
He pointed in the direction of the explosions.
can experiment on me, test their spells on me, harvest my organs, blood, and magical essence. You two are more stupid than you look.
He raised a fist as it hummed with powerful magic.
They'll never be satisfied. They will always want more power.
Pebbles and rocks began to levitate and spin around him.
Reasoning with them is an exercise in futility and the only solution to permanently level the playing field.
An explosion of rock shot out in all directions. Melvin managed to escape the attack, but Ume was struck hard in the head. Before she could react, Dervius was upon her. He struck out with his palm, which connected with her stomach. She was knocked across the room and collided with the far wall, dying instantly. A corona of blood stained the wall around her lifeless body. Melvin roared with rage and swung his swords. Dervius effortlessly dodged all of the elf's attacks.
How do you mean to defend yourselves from them if you cannot save yourselves from me?
The dwarf captured one of Melvin's swords and used it to block the other. He headbutted the wizard, who found himself dazed. Melvin felt a piercing pain in his chest. Looking down, he saw his samurai sword impaling him. Dervius held the other sword to Melvin's face.
It is in their nature. They will never accept you. They will only use you for their own gains.
Just as Dervius was about to thrust the sword into Melvin's head, an arrow pierced the dwarf's neck. Ume, having regained consciousness, had fired from her bow. He gurgled in confusion as blood spewed from his mouth.
Oh, shut the fuck up, you sanctimonious asshole!
Melvin drew Kazuko's dagger and planted it in Dervius's heart. His lifeless body fell to the ground as thunder boomed across the land. He shuddered as the light left his eyes. Melvin removed the sword from his own body.
Ume, the seed!
Got it!
Ume flew to the center of the volcano and tossed the seed into the fire. The mountain rumbled, but then the quaking subsided. Ume helped Melvin to his feet. A small sapling sprouted from the bottom of the now slumbering volcano.
We beat him, Ume!
Yay!
Using his wand of flight, Melvin and Ume took Dervius' corpse and flew to King Durzin's ship. There, the dwarf inspected the body.
Ah, good work, you two. Now the Holy Order can be revived, and we can finally take over the world unopposed, now that the wages of sin are out of the way.
What?
The king rubbed the back of his head, looking embarrassed.
Well, take over might have been too strong a phrase. What I meant was, we may spread the good word. Come, Ume, let's go check on my school. They should be building it as we speak.
Horrified, Ume shook her head. She made a mad dash for Dervius' corpse and fled from the ship. Melvin gave chase, but could not keep up with the pixie. She flew to a remote part of the woods, landing on the side of a hill. She casted a spell which enabled her to speak with the deceased.
So that's what death feels like.
What is the Holy Order? Are they the bad guys?
To me, any organization that seeks power are the bad guys.
She shook him and he groaned in pain.
Answer me, are they the bad guys?
The dwarf chuckled.
It's not always that black and white. The wages of sin started out as a group of people who wanted to keep the gods and the dragons in check. They were able to successfully create spells to fracture the gods and control dragons. There was relative peace for a while, but then the wages of sin got greedy. They wanted more power for themselves, even planning for world domination. This goes directly against what we were supposed to stand for, so I destroyed them.
He coughed, spitting up blood. The spell was weakening, and his time was not long.
And without any of us left, the dragons will flock to Larinkas, and their tyrannical rule will follow.
He grinned as malice filled his eyes.
You may have stopped me, but what comes next will be 100 times worse. The gods will bicker among themselves, like they always do, as the innocent suffer. and the Holy Order, although they claim differently, will only seek to expand the reach rather than aid the people. The dragons will run amok, and nobody will lift a finger to stop them.
The dwarf spat up more blood as he laughed. Ume paused, frightened out of her mind. She could barely keep her voice from quivering.
How do we stop it?
The dwarf looked out over the horizon into the setting sun. He remembered watching countless sunsets with his friends, Yua and Ogarku. This one seemed more beautiful than all that had come before. The scenery offered colorful memories and mellifluous echoes of something worth protecting.
Do you wish to learn the most powerful spells of the wages of sin?
Ume hesitated, then slowly nodded. The dwarf reached out.
Okay. Give me your hands.
He taught Ume the spells to fracture the gods and control dragons. And as the sun set on this day, Dervius of the Storms died with a smile on his already rotting face, knowing that while the last of the wages of sin had died, its spirit lived on in Ume's heart. She returned to Yon Cardu, but her friendship with Melvin was challenged with distrust. They stopped hanging out together, but were reunited when news of a dragon invasion reached them. The duo banded together and set out to investigate. During their travels, they met a dragon named Dr. Zumi, who explained that dragons had been originally chased from these lands by the wages of sin, and, in the organization's absence, they sought to reclaim their former territory. Being a friendly dragon, he joined our heroes on a quest to broker peace between the dragons and the people of Larenkas. But, would they be able to achieve something nobody has ever done? Is the Holy Order evil? And what will Ume do with her new abilities? Find out next time on Fisher's Initiative Short Stories.